Hey, what is up, guys? It's your boy KCM, What Ifs. Today we are going to be reading the sealed kunai, or what if Naruto had his true potential sealed away. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. The amassed team of Genma Shiranui, Naruto Uzumaki, Kotetsu Hagane, and Izuma Godzuki stood in front of the Hokage's desk, having just given their report on the mission to Kumo. Tsunade had to rub her forehead at the report. Naruto? How do you get arrested in Kumo after being there for 4 hours tops? Naruto shrugged. Hokage-sama, Murphy's Law just loves me like that, I guess. Come on now, are you really surprised by this point that this stuff happens to me even when I don't instigate it? You should know this by now. Tsunade sighed and waved it off. All right, other than the extracurricular activities of someone here, she said while looking at Naruto. Good work. You're all dismissed and have a few days of leave. The group nodded and turned to leave. Naruto, you stay, Tsunade said before he could exit the office. Naruto turned back around to face the blonde woman. Can I talk to you for a moment? Naruto walked back over to her desk and leaned on it. What do you need, Ba-chan? The toothy grin on his face let her know that he knew this was personal more than anything else. I need to get some sleep and then head into my favorite place to get some destructive new jutsu down. Tsunade shook her head in amusement. All right, brat, I asked you before, but I'm going to try it again. How strong do you think you are? Naruto raised an eyebrow. In a straight-up fight, or when I get the drop on somebody? Tsunade blinked, both if you know. Naruto thought about it. Well, I'm good enough from the shadows to kill one of Orochimaru's bodyguards before he even knew I was there, and I can stay hidden in an enemy stronghold for months at a time if I had to. I don't really like that, though. It's nerve-wracking. He started pacing around her office. What would you rank Orochimaru's right-hand man Kabuto and Kimimaro Kaguya if you had to? Tsunade understood where he was going with that. It was hard to rank yourself, so he was comparing himself to others. Both of them would be considered Jonin level. Naruto nodded. I don't really count Kabuto, though. He didn't try fighting me for real until I had him beaten, so I only have experience against one Jonin level ninja since my promotion. You just promoted me like 2 months ago. Are you really looking to do it again so soon? Tsunade picked up Genma's written report from the desk. All of your teammates have stated that you might make a good candidate in the future for Anbu. I already figured that you would be a Jonin in a year or two if you keep growing. Now enough about that. What did you actually do in Kumo? Your report says that you spent some time with a few of the people there, but you didn't elaborate at all. Naruto sat down in a chair and smiled at Tsunade. She was very good to him after he had brought her back to Konoha. It was something akin to a sibling-esque relationship. She was his boss, but she legitimately cared about him. Naruto was very grateful to her for this. He probably would do anything in his power that Tsunade asked of him, even if he didn't directly answer to her. I beat up an entire team of Kumo Chunin that challenged me to a spar after my arrest. By the way, there were 2 girls on that team and they seemed to like me. I met Kumo's 2 Jinchuriki. One of them is utterly insane, like on the level of Lee and Guy. Insane. But the other one is a few years older than me and she's hot. She's a sweetheart too. Tsunade's eyes gleamed. Finally, I might have some ammunition on the brat. Drink yourself into a stupor without me, will you? I'll show you. So what else, brat? Naruto ignored the look as he kept listing things off. Let's see. I made Kotetsu and Izumo give themselves alcohol burns on their testicles. I won all of their money, by the way, placed their paychecks for the mission in my name, and some guy tried to kill me. Oh, and I also. What? Tsunade almost roared at him. Someone tried to kill you? Who? Did Kumo order? Naruto had to place his hands on her shoulders to calm her down. Whoa. Calm down, Bachan, it's okay. He tried to kill me, but he got captured by the Raikage's forces and I got to execute him the next day. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. That was in the report, wasn't it? So what did you do? Naruto sat back down and leaned back in his chair. I had him hanged, drawn, and quartered. I did it myself. That method of execution hadn't been done since the Second Great Ninja War. Particularly brutal method that... How do you even know how to do something like that? Naruto let out a cough that sounded suspiciously like Root, and Tsunade ended up nodding in understanding. Naruto stood up and stretched. So where's Iro-san? Is he here so I can start my training, or am I on my own for the time being? Tsunade shook her head. He's out gathering information on a lead on the Akatsuki, trying to find out exactly what they need the Kyuubi for. He's also trying to find out who other members are. He'll be back in a few months, so I'll clear your schedule for that point in time and let you know in advance. Naruto made a grunt of affirmation and walked towards the window. All right then, like I said before. I'm going home, taking a nap, getting some food, and then I'll be spending some quality time in the Forest of Death in order to avoid collateral damage from the training I'm going to go do. If you need to find me, then that's where I'll be. Tsunade turned her head as he walked past her. Brat take the door for crying out loud. Naruto grinned as he pulled the window open. What was that, Baya-chan? The wind is kind of heavy today. Did you say doors are for losers? Because I agree with you wholeheartedly on that front. Tell Shizumi-kan I said hi. With that, Naruto jumped out of the open window and vanished in a shunshin. Tsunade slapped her forehead. Great. Now both the brat and the pervert get their jollies from going in and out of the window. Naruto opened his apartment door and wasted no time in dropping face first on his couch with a massive sigh. Sigh, I need a bigger house. Naruto simply lay still face down while his door opened silently and slowly. The figure crept through the living room until Naruto's voice rang out. If you want to keep all of your limbs attached, I would stop moving forward if I were you. Wow, shithead. Nice to see you too. Naruto lifted his head and rolled over to get an eyeful of Tayuya. Tayuya-chan, what are you doing in my apartment? Tayuya rolled her eyes. I heard your door open and heard your loud-ass buffalo noise when you dropped on the couch. What? Are you not happy to see me? Naruto shook his head, confused. It's not that. It's just, what are you doing here? Tayuya gave him a grin. I live in the complex. I'm actually right next door to you, shithead. Surprise! Naruto's jaw dropped as he mulled around what she had just said in his head. So you're out of confinement? He got a nod in response. And they're letting you stay? Another nod, and you actually chose to live in this complex of all places. Tayuya sighed. Listen up. I'm an Oto Kunoichi shithead. There isn't a person in this place that isn't paranoid about me. You're the only person that would treat me decently. Therefore, I want to stay close to you until things look up for me. Naruto sat up straight on the couch. If you want, I can help you booby-trap your place if you're worried about that. Tayuya let out a laugh. Maybe later, shithead. So where have you been? Naruto moved over and let her sit down as he stood up and walked to the kitchen. I was in Kumo. It was just a guard detail. Nothing really strenuous. I kept active and I learned something pretty cool that I need to test out full scale later. I was going to go train. Tayuya frowned. Who the fuck trains right after they get back from a mission? Give it a day at least. God, do you ever rest? Naruto grinned at her as he began boiling water for his ramen. Not really. I've got things to prepare for. I can rest when I'm dead. Tayuya walked over and poked Naruto in the chest. Listen up. I've been spending time with 2 full-fledged medic ninja, and one that's in training, and that kind of ended up beating some basic fucking knowledge into my head. Don't push yourself. I know you're some kind of demonically rage-a-hall-fueled juggernaut of energy, but everyone needs downtime. Naruto rolled his eyes. Tayuya-chan, I just got through with resting before I took the last mission. It's not like I'm burning out. How could I? I'm 13. Naruto stopped stirring the ramen he was making and placed the spoon in her hand. Stir. I need to go get something. Tayuya grumbled, but carried out Naruto's request. Stupid shithead making me stir his stupid fucking ramen. Language. Naruto walked back into the kitchen with a smirk, ignoring Tayuya's muttering of fuck you. Now what would you do if you had your flute back? You wouldn't try to kill me again, would you? Tayuya gave him a deadpan look, arm still stirring his ramen. I can't beat you even with the flute. Orochimaru made us specialize when we were training. Genjutsu is what I'm best at, and you can walk right through it. Besides, I like Konoha a hell of a lot more than Otagakure. Here I don't have to worry about some goon trying to take advantage of me when I let my guard down. Naruto nodded. Good answer. Here. He threw something at her from behind his back. Tayuya caught it and went wide-eyed. My flute, but I lost it during the fight. A snickering laugh came from Naruto as he took the spoon back from Tayuya and kept stirring while he turned his stove off. Who do you think took it from you in the first place? What, did you think I just dropped it in the forest and left it there? I've been keeping it. Tayuya just kept looking between her flute and Naruto, who just kept on grinning. Now you can register as a ninja for the village and can get a rank higher than Genin and avoid the grunt work of D-ranked missions. He noticed she hadn't moved yet. Are you happy? She nodded. Good. You can go on home and start cataloging your jutsu for tomorrow. Tayuya nodded and walked out of Naruto's apartment almost zombie-like, eliciting laughter from the boy as she shut the door behind her. Grabbing a bowl for his ramen, he smiled to himself. Glad to help Tayuya-chan. The next day, Naruto's personal obstacle course of death that had used to hone his reflexes and increase his speed since he had gotten his memories back wasn't really an obstacle course at all. Naruto would make a random number of shadow clones and send them out into the heavily wooded areas of the Forest of Death, and have them set traps, hide themselves in order to attack him during his dash, attract animals that had the potential to harm him, and anything else his twisted clones could think of to hurt him. He would make the clones, meditate for 3 hours, then he would begin his deadly game. Naruto would traverse the rugged terrain back and forth 5 times each. Each time was a length of 5 kilometers from a starting point in the forest to the gate leading to the outside and was fraught with peril. His clones were utterly ruthless in their attack, and despite their one-hit limit that they could all take, they were more of hit-and-run type attackers, engaging Naruto himself when he was not expecting attack and fighting to kill. En route they would do the same, only with real people, so it was never as many as it was when Naruto uses shadow clones. It was also done in a long corridor that Danzo manipulated to his liking for whatever situation you were training for. This training was twofold. Not only did it allow Naruto to train himself on speed, evasion, and trap detection, it also worked on Naruto's ability to set traps and ambushes. Being able to see both sides of the conflict, both from his own view and from the memories of his shadow clones, allowed him to analyze what he did right and wrong on both fronts, and to adjust for using the traps on other ninja in real-life combat situations. After finishing his warm-up, Naruto called his remaining shadow clones out into a clearing and made even more, around 300 or so. Looking at them all, he began barking orders, split into 5 even groups. The clones scrambled to follow his orders, breaking off into 5 groups in even rows. First set of you, find a spot and get to splitting leaves. Any review work is still very much needed. Also, I want you to work on kunai balancing. Pointing to the next group, he continued, you all will go back through our jutsu catalog and start getting down the ones that we still can't do. He looked at the last group. You all will be on stealth detail. You will be following people of interest and shadowing them. Do not get caught. This is on my reputation here. I expect some cool memories upon your dispelling at sunset. Now go. Naruto cracked his neck and made his way deep inside the forest for some live fire combat training. Oh, spiders, you and I still have a gripe. Teammates' training for the day was driven to say the least. Ever since Kiba and Chino's humiliating one-sided losses at the hands of Naruto, both had been training hard to catch up to the boy that had blown right past them. Kiba worked on his speed and combination tactics with Akamaru, and was also trying to teach the puppy how to better defend himself in case they ended up being separated, or one of them went down in battle. After hearing how Naruto dealt with the majority of the Sound Four with little to no effort in the least, and how he himself instead had to be saved at the last second by Neji and Kankuro, Kiba resolved to somehow get to the blonde's level. Shino was inspired by a combination of his crushing defeat by Naruto and the knowledge of the Sasuke retrieval mission that had failed. It was almost a prerequisite by this point for all Jonin sensei to venture to the site of Naruto's battle with Kimimaro with their Genin cells, in order to either inspire them to work harder, or to let them know just how powerful Naruto was. The sight of the countless bone spires sticking out of the ground, and the knowledge that Naruto was able to outlast such an enemy on his own planted a seed into Shino's head that if he didn't want to be left behind even more than he already had been, then he needed to improve and fast. Kurenai watched as her two students stood at opposite ends of the training ground with her lone female charge standing between them. In a blur, Kiba and Akamaru charged the blue-haired girl and launched the Gatsuga directly at her. On her other side, Shino unleashed a torrent of insects at her. Opening her eyes with her Byakugan active, she began spinning and directing her hands in precise and exact locations all around her. A field of chakra as precise as lasers surrounded her body, bouncing Kiba off and actually shredding Shino's insects on contact. Kurenai had to smile as her most timid student had come up with her own technique on par with the Hyuga clan's Hakisho Kaiten. The protection of the 8 trigram 64 palms was more tailored towards Hinata's flexibility than the rigid form that the Kaiten required from its users. The fact that she came up with the technique on her own without help, except to test its development, was incredible to Kurenai. Kiba stood up from where he was launched off, holding his head that had a gash on it, but with a smile on his face as his Ninkin came bounding up to him. "Wow, Hinata, that was rough. And you're saying that it's not finished yet?" Hinata smiled as she turned off her Byakugan and dropped her stance. "No, it's close though. I'm not sure what it would do against an attack from all sides the level of your Gatsuga, but when focused in just a few areas it should be fine." Kurenai smiled. At least Naruto's utter thrashing of everyone's genin in front of the entire village did good things for the majority of them. Hinata's stuttering had all but vanished. She had learned that things with Neji were getting better. Even her father was beginning to improve Hinata. That was very impressive. When that jutsu is complete, it should be B rank if not a rank. A blush came to the girl's face, but she gave a firm nod. Ino walked over, and despite not giving away any expression, nodded his agreement that he was very proud of her. "Thank you, Kurenai-sensei." The words of one particular blonde boy rang out clear in her mind as she felt like she was finally making strides for herself. "I wonder what you would think, Naruto-kun." Team Guy leapt through the tree limbs of the Forest of Death. They had been assigned a rare C-ranked mission inside the village gates. Recently, there had been reports of an increased amount of loud noises coming from the Forest of Death over the last few months, which was quite impressive considering the size of the place. And when Anko Mitarashi had been brought in for questioning, it was evident that it wasn't her disrupting the peace. So this mission had been commissioned to discover what was going on. Now Team Guy had no idea, seeing as how Tsunade, the only other person besides Anko that knew who liked to frequent that place, wasn't forthcoming with the info that everyone's favorite blonde kid had a habit of raising Cain within the gates of the dangerous forest. Thus the team led by the green-clad taijutsu ace had next to no idea what they were getting into. Guy led the group, followed by Neji, who was flanked on both sides by Lee and Tenten. Lee had never even heard of a C-rank mission inside of the village, thus why he was excited, more excited than usual. "Yes. What do you think could be causing such a ruckus in the forest? I have heard of all kinds of amazing animals within the forest, but did not get to see any during our first foray within, with the exception of my youthful squirrel friend. I wonder how he is doing." Tenten tried to calm the hyper guy clone down. "Lee, please be quiet. We didn't come across any of the weird things in here last time because we were careful. Don't go screaming your head off in here, or who knows what you'll bring down on us." Lee opened his mouth to retort in a youthful fashion, but Guy turned his head to give Lee a firm look. "Lee, Tenten is right. You may have made your way through the woods before, but you should count yourself lucky that you didn't come across any of the creatures in this place. I don't care if we are inside of the village. Treat this like a hostile environment because it is. Even Jonin are somewhat wary of entering this place." Lee gulped and nodded after being reprimanded by Guy. Neji squinted and spoke up. "Gi-sensei, I'm seeing countless human life forms in an upcoming clearing." Guy nodded and looked back at his genin once more. "Prepare yourselves. When we enter the area, who knows what will be here." Getting a nod from his students, Guy turned back ahead. The group's mojo was disrupted, however, when Neji's face fell onto one of the branches, forcing his team to halt. Tenten jumped back and helped the boy stand up. "Neji-kun, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Neji nodded as he stood up and started jumping forward, ahead of the rest of the team, ignoring Guy's cries to come back. Pushing his way into the clearing, he found a mass of Naruto clones, diligently at work spamming jutsu all over the place. Some dispelling from lack of chakra, but otherwise it was something that the young Hyuga genius had never seen before. His team came up right behind him and were stuck staring at the scene before them, much like Neji was. Tenten looked at the clones wide-eyed. What is going on? Naruto-kun? He's everywhere. Lee's eyes were ablaze with youth. Yes, such a youthful training program. I must spar with Naruto-kun. Lee took off into the mass of hard-at-work clones, stopping in front of the first one, scaring the hell out of it and forcing it to electrocute itself with one of the jutsu Naruto had learned in Kumo and blow up in a puff of smoke. This forced all of the other Naruto replications to take notice of just who it was that intruded on their session. Lee ran up to another one and dropped into his stance. Naruto-kun, my eternal rival, I request a spa with you to stoke both of our flames of youth. The clones all looked at each other until one spoke up. We're all clones. Boss just told us to work on his jutsus until we dispelled from lack of chakra. He's out further in the forest getting even with those stupid spiders. The clones all broke into a smattering of chatter, mostly circulating around how the original Naruto was going to go medieval on those spiders' asses, and how they all wished they could be there to fight too. Guy listened in to what was being said. So you're saying that Naruto-kun is deeper in the forest? Getting a collective yeep from the clones, he continued, and he's actively trying to provoke the more dangerous wildlife just for training. They all nodded as one clone spoke up. Yeah, I mean, you're saying that like it's a bad thing. Sure, there's a shitload of spiders in this forest, but they have to realize that they can't win after he slaughters like a few dozen of them, right? Guy paled concerning his Gyanin clone Kun. No one knows exactly how many of certain creatures this forest has. Especially the spiders, there are reports from Onbu of nests under the ground with countless amounts of them, and they're highly aggressive in nature. The clones scoffed. Well, we could have told you that. Those 8-legged fucks mess with us every time we come in here to train. We have to divert clones just to keep a lookout and as extermination squads in case the bastards get too close. Guy palmed his forehead. Clone Kun, you're not getting it. These spiders mature at an absurd rate, and they reproduce far too quickly. If your original is out there killing them for sport, then he is in grave danger. Which way did he go? The clones all pointed northeast, to the bad spot where we know the spiders hang out. Like I said, we have a gripe with those bastards. Knock over 2 barrels of my sake, will they? Guy turned to his team. We have to go get Naruto-kun out of there. Prepare for a battle. Be fast and precise against the enemy. Those spiders are fast, strong and ruthless. Kill them and move on. Neji and Ten nodded while Lee was fired up. Yes, let's go save Naruto-kun. Elsewhere in Konoha, Sakura smiled as the fish on her table flopped back into the water. Her skill with the Shaosen Jutsu was growing every day. Soon Tsunade said she would be able to begin working on creatures with bones closer to humans. The last few months since her training began had been great for Sakura. Despite being harder than anything she had done before, she could now see a reason why Rock Lee and others trained so hard. The feeling of succeeding after working on something for so long was well worth the effort put in. Good work, Sakura. As Sakura turned to see Tsunade had been overseeing her work with a smile. You're getting better and better at the basic techniques. After you master most of the medical techniques, I can begin teaching you my strength amplifying technique. Now let's work on your taijutsu. You need to be able to keep yourself in one piece and defeat your opponents quickly as a medic ninja. For now, we'll begin working on your elusiveness and I'll teach you form later. Sakura nodded with a determined look on her face. She wouldn't be the weakest link ever again if she had any say in her own skill. Team Asuma had just returned to the village after a B-ranked mission. Ino was groaning loudly while rolling her neck. I'm so glad we're done with that mission. I need a hot shower and some rest. Asume smirked as he took a drag of his cigarette. Good work with those bandits, team. Shikamaru, good work with the plan. It went off without a hitch. Choji, you're coming along nicely with your family techniques. Ino looked at her sensei expectantly, who looked at her for a moment before speaking up. Ino, that was a good use of mind-body switch jutsu to scout out the camp. I was sure that you wouldn't use that jutsu again for quite some time after what happened the last time. All of you take the rest of the day off and meet me at our training field tomorrow." With that, the bearded Jonin walked towards the Hokage Tower to give his report to Tsunade about the mission. Choji looked between his teammates. "Hey, do you guys want to get some barbecue before we go home?" Shikamaru chuckled and patted his friend on the shoulder. "Sure thing, Choji. Let's go, Ino." The group found their way and ended up in a booth shortly. After placing their orders, the team started to converse, with Shikamaru launching out the first question. "Ino, you never told us why you stopped using mind-body switch jutsu after the fight with Naruto in the first place. Did he have some kind of defense like Sakura had that actually hurt you?" Ino hugged herself slightly. "Yeah, but it wasn't really a straightforward kind of thing. Naruto's mind is strange. It looked just like Konoha. Every inch of it was to scale. No one had a mind that extensive." Choji squealed happily as the beef was placed in front of him. He wasted no time in throwing the meat on the grill while Shikamaru kept asking Ino his questions. "So just being in Konoha in the guy's mind freaked you out?" "That's kind of weak, Ino." The platinum blonde growled at him as she placed her own meat onto the grill. "That's not all that happened. I was wandering around for a bit when I felt the presence of something chasing me. I remembered what happened with Sakura and took off running. It corralled me to Naruto's apartment and left me there. I never saw it, but I could feel its presence the entire time." Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. "His apartment? You're not telling me everything, Ino." Ino shook her fist at him. "I'm trying to tell a story here, you blockhead." She glared at him when a troublesome slipped from the pineapple-haired boy. His TV was on in the apartment, and I thought that was central control. The thing in everyone's mind that allows you to gain control after you use the jutsu. But it was his memories, or what seemed like memories. It had to be some kind of trick. It was already queued up to one in particular. It had Naruto running through an entire ballroom full of people like a hot knife through butter. It was the single most terrible thing I had ever seen, and when I started watching it, I felt like I was actually there. I could hear the directions of the screams, the panic of the people trying to escape. I could smell the blood that spilled out on the ground and everything." Choji paused in his eating for a minute before shrugging off that mental image and continuing to chow down. Ino continued her description of Naruto's memories. That was just the first one, and I couldn't turn it off. I was in his body while this strange silent man in a mask just beat him while he was tied to a chair. He never spoke. He just kept hitting him, and hitting him for hours until all I could see through his view was blood. All of the memories I saw were just like that. I finally had enough and canceled the jutsu. Shikamaru just stared at the girl. "Wow, that's kind of hardcore. You felt everything happen as if you were there? That means that it wasn't a trick or anything. You really were in Naruto's memories, doesn't it?" Ino shook her head. "Naruto couldn't have been any older than 7 or 8 years old when any of the things I saw happened. If it wasn't a trick, then I sure as hell can't believe that those things were his actual memories. Those were things that Dad told me the Anbu did on a regular basis. There's no conceivable way that while we were preparing for the academy, Naruto was taking on Anbu-level missions. That just doesn't make sense." Shikamaru stayed silent and pondered Ino's words, the things that Naruto did when he fought everyone. Those techniques, that fighting style, the way he carried himself. All of those things didn't just come out of nowhere. Forest of Death, with game faces on. Team Guy headed into the restricted area of the Forest of Death where the level of peril went up. The forest grew darker, and it wasn't just because the sun was setting. The canopy was beginning to completely block out the sunlight above. Faint sounds of inhuman screeching rang out in the distance and was growing ever closer. The tense waiting was broken when the blonde that they were looking for flew past them into a tree, followed by the biggest spider that any of the genin had ever seen before. It was easily the size of a full-grown adult male and had launched itself at Naruto, fangs dripping venom. Naruto pulled up his ninjato and drove it right through the spider's face, sending the blood of the arachnid spraying all over the place. Swinging his blade upwards with a burst of wind chakra to bolster it, he cut straight through the deadly creature. Spitting on the corpse of the spider, he turned to Team Guy. "Oh, sweet God, what are you all doing here? Do you know where you are?" Lee ran up to Naruto. "We've come to protect you, Naruto-kun. We'll get you out of here in one piece, it's a promise. Guy walked up to the two. It's as Lee said, we've come to get you out of here before the sun goes down. Come on, Naruto-kun, let's escape. Naruto looked at Neji and Tenten, who were both serious, but otherwise fully calm. He shook his head. Guy-sensei, is this the first time that you've ever come this far inside of the Forest of Death? Guy nodded and Naruto sighed. You guys have no idea what you're getting into. Neji, activate your Byakugan and tell me what you see. Neji did as instructed and gasped as he shakily spoke up. I see at least a dozen of the spiders that Naruto just fought surrounding the area, watching us. Naruto nodded as he saw the other Genin pale. That's why I don't tell anyone that I train here. There's no one that I would feel safe putting into this kind of situation. I come in here to fight against opponents that are willing to fight and kill me. I can't take on people, but if I want to split a spider in half, there are always a few dozen skulking around this place. It's the closest thing to simulating a real full-pitched battle against a vicious enemy that you can get. Definitely not for Genin. Naruto propped his ninjato on his shoulder. Since you're here now, I have to cut this session short. I was going to keep going until midnight, and then make a mad dash out of here to escape. But having you guys show up has forced me to skip straight to the bat out of hell rush that I was planning for later. You guys brought too many of them here. They'll come in waves to try and wear us down. You fight until I tell you to run and you follow me out. Keep your eyes peeled when we break out. Those sneaky bastards like to hide in the canopy and jump you from the shadows. Tenten had to choke down her fear at the situation and brandish kunai when Naruto placed his hand on hers. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Naruto's eyes darted around the area. You're gonna need something bigger than those. That will just piss them off. God, I just had to get stuck in this situation with a team of taijutsu specialists. None of you know any jutsu or how to use your element with your fighting, do you? Lee blinked at him in confusion. Will taijutsu not work on them, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at Guy and Lee. If you can generate enough force to crush the exoskeleton, then it can. But you don't want to stay up close with these things unless you can smash them in one shot. Guy shot Naruto a shiny smile. Naruto-kun, it's time to show you what good old-fashioned hard work and youth can do. Lee and I will have no trouble dealing with these spiders with our taijutsu. Neji, how about you? Neji stood in his Juken stance. If they have a chakra system, and they do, I can fight and kill them. Naruto looked at Tenten, who put her kunai up and unsealed a battle axe from a scroll. I'm ready. Naruto stared at her blankly. Tenten, you can use an axe? That's awesome. The first spider saw a moment of weakness and jumped from the trees at the group. Ah! Naruto jumped in the air and gave the spider a wide berth while swinging his blade. Extending the end of his sword with wind chakra, he cut right through the spider and landed on the ground. You fucking eight-legged pieces of shit just don't get it yet, do you? Naruto formed two shadow clones to watch his back as he ran directly towards the closest spiders that would jump at him. He cut out one of the spider's legs from under it using a one-handed swing while simultaneously driving a Rasengan into the torso of another, carving into it with the force of a drill, sending guts all over the place. I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me. Naruto's clones ran to back him up as three more spiders emerged from the surrounding area to attack. The giant arachnids were now extremely wary of Naruto's sword, seeing as how it had been his weapon of choice for the entire day's events. Getting sick of how the spiders were avoiding him, he ripped a sword from one of his shadow clones' hands and threw it at one while enhancing it with wind chakra, impaling it against a tree and killing it. Hey, that was mine, was the indignant cry from the victim clone. The original just shrugged before the three Narutos scattered due to being double-teamed by the two other spiders. The original and the clone that still had his blade engaged the spiders, with the clone being far more conservative with its way of fighting, as one bad shot could dispel it. The original simply ran some misdirection and cleaved all four legs on one side of his spider off. Before running off to assist some of Team Guy, he planted an explosive note on the nearly helpless spider, forcing it to explode in a shower of guts. While he was judging which one of the team required assistance, he ended up being blindsided by the spider that had dispelled his shadow clone, and sent sprawling along the ground by the powerful creature. The giant spider skittered closer to the boy before one of the more sizable tree limbs from above came crashing down on top of it, killing not only that one spider but two more hiding in the background. Naruto's other shadow clone landed on top of the tree limb with his sword that Naruto had thrown in hand. "Hey boss, I found my sword." Naruto nodded. "Good work. I'm going to help the others. You wait for an opening to escape. Dispel when you see an opportunity to leave." The clone nodded and went off to stay out of the fight while the original Naruto headed into Team Guy's melee to assist. Neji was not having much of a problem keeping the spiders off of him. He would use chitin whenever he started getting swarmed, but he was finding it hard to finish them off. The spiders seemed to have so many tenketsu in their legs that it would take too many shots just to incapacitate one. And when he attempted to just hit it straight on somewhere vital, they would use their incredible agility to simply dodge and avoid a fatal strike. Wind release. Divine fist of the wind god. To Neji's shock, two spiders were sent flying. One off into the distance, deep into the forest. The other hit a tree with crushing force, turning it into a stain before the tree itself cracked and fell over. Naruto ran over to him, sword drawn, giving the boy a slight nod. Neji eyed the one remaining spider of this pack. "Naruto, I can finish this one off." "Go help Ten or Lee." Naruto heard his tone of voice and figured arguing or pulling rank on him would have just earned him some of the Hyuga boy's ire. When Naruto left, Neji ran at the spider that backed up to get some spring into its legs for a pounce. Neji saw this coming, and when it launched itself at him, he slid underneath the spider's belly, hitting it in the spots that were harder to get, but were guaranteed to finish the monster spider off. The spider tripped over its own legs and onto its back, kicking for a moment before crinkling its legs inward and dying. Neji smirked to himself before going off to find one of his superiors. Tenten was having an easier time with her fighting. The spiders were knowledgeable about human weaponry and about the differences between male and female humans. Well, the sight of a girl with an axe did not compute for most of the spiders that saw Tenten as an easy kill swinging that giant thing around. Too bad for them they didn't figure that she could actually swing that damn thing pretty fast, and was very good at timing their attacks. Each swing from the girl took out something. Good thing it did too. That heavy axe was an energy sapper. Naruto stood in a pile of 4 or 5 spiders. "So I guess you're doing okay for the time being?" Tenten gave him a tired smile and a thumbs up while leaning on the handle of her weapon. "I was scared at first, but these spiders are kind of weak. But there are so many of them." Naruto nodded while watching out for her, giving her some time to rest for a moment. They aren't supposed to cause any ninja better than an Academy fresh geinin any trouble one-on-one, but they're persistent, ruthless, and they just keep coming. Hell, I make a game out of counting them as I kill them. Tenten raised a delicate eyebrow at that. "What's the highest you've ever gotten?" Naruto thought about it as he watched Neji finish off a spider. "Well, I got started earlier than usual in the day this time, and I could swear that I was bearing down on some kind of record when you guys showed up. I lost count, though I think it was getting up past 200 of them." Tenten's jaw dropped. 200 of these things? There are really that many that you can kill 200 before we even get here and still be worried about us attracting too many to you? Both noticed Neji coming to their side, and all 3 of them looked at what the 2 more eccentric members of Team Guy were getting into. "Yes. Guy-sensei, who knew that this mission would turn into such a splendid battle. For Naruto-kun to seek out a challenge such as this, I truly have selected the appropriate choice for my eternal rival." Lee ducked under the pounce of one of the spiders before launching himself at 2 more. "Leaf, great whirlwind." Lee unleashed a torrent of high-speed kicks at the oversized arachnids, smashing them into a nearby massive tree. Guy cracked one of the spiders with an axe kick that simply made it collapse in a heap. Lee used this as an exercise. "Naruto-kun! How many of these creatures did you fell?" Naruto watched the 2 identical taijutsu users seemingly having a blast fighting these damn things. "You mean since you've shown up, or since noon?" "Because that's when I started." Guy sent Naruto a gleaming smile. "I believe in my Lee. Let's go with this afternoon." Naruto, Ten, and Neji looked at each other before Neji and Naruto shrugged. Tenten sighed and answered him. "Guy-sensei, Naruto-kun says that he's killed around 200 of them since he came in here." Guy stood seemingly shaking in place. Naruto thought that the number of spiders he killed had pissed Guy off. He didn't know Guy was all for arachnid rights. How was he supposed to know? Guy turned to Naruto with flaming, tearful eyes. However impossible that seems, such a youthful, combat-filled day. Lee, in order to defeat your rival, you have to defeat more than 200 of our 8-legged enemies. Lee's eyes blazed over in a similar fashion. Yes, Guy-sensei. And if I cannot best my rival Naruto's number of spiders slain, then I will do 500 push-ups on my thumbs. With one last battle cry, Lee ran into an area where spiders were waiting for an ambush. Naruto palmed his head as he watched Lee begin ripping into the spiders with fists and feet. You guys are going to bring the whole damn population of the things on us. Look, we need to get out of here. The more you kill, the more show up. If it was this easy, then don't you think it would be recommended for ninja to train in here? It's actually frowned upon, because you can't take them on forever. You'll run out of energy and chakra before they run out of bodies to throw at you. Kill all you want as we get the hell out of here. Naruto ran in and grabbed Lee by his collar before dragging him off with everyone else following close behind. As they started to go back through the thick of the woods, a spider tried to come from behind a tree to sneak attack them. Guy saw it coming and flipped at the massive thing with punches and kicks. Dynamic action. Turning the spider into goo as they didn't break their stride. Naruto-kun, what is the best course of action to escape? Naruto moved back. Guy-sensei, watch the front. I'll keep them off of our backs. Neji, Tenten, and Lee, stay between us. Neji, keep your Byakugan on. Ten, prepares some kunai with explosive notes. Take to the trees, it narrows down the angles that they can attack from. Team Guy listened to their Chunin tag-along and got themselves into position as they leapt into the branches of the forest. Naruto's knowledge of the terrain by now was second only to Anko. He knew where the majority of things of interest in the forest were, and the current thing of interest was the closest exit that wouldn't take them straight into the nest of the spiders. We need to get further south. If we head straight north or east from here, we'll have to go straight through the nest to escape. That would be suicide even for me. Guy nodded and led the group further south. During their run, Naruto held his head in pain and fell down on a branch. Lee jumped back to help the boy to his feet. Naruto-kun, what is wrong? Are you hurt? Naruto cursed to himself as he grimaced in pain. A bunch of my clones actually fully lasted for their time limit, and dispelled all at once. It's like the worst headache you've ever had hitting you all at once. Thanking Lee as he stood back up, they were distracted by Neji's shouts. There are more coming. Naruto turned around to see 5 of the spiders jumping from branch to branch, getting ever closer. Naruto threw Lee off of his branch at his team. Stay back! There's something I need to test out anyway. They all watched as Naruto let the spiders in close before making a set of hand signs, and crossing his arms in an X motion while crouching. Wind release. Whirlwind pyramid. Standing up and stiffening all of his appendages straight out, a vicious crosswind surrounded the area around Naruto's body, catching the spiders within and sending them flying into the air, some of them cut into pieces, others missing legs, all of the survivors hissing in anger and pain. The jutsu faded after a few seconds and he turned back to Team Guy, getting everyone moving again to stay ahead of the spiders attempting to prey on them. The Genin were pretty stunned by the use of Naruto's new jutsu, but were too occupied with staying in one piece at the moment to ask anything. After another half-hour of random spider attacks and running, they escaped the forest of death and collapsed a good distance away from the gates that cut it off from everything else in the village. Naruto laughed to himself as he looked up at the night sky. Well, that was fun. You guys all right? Guy looked back at the forest of death. We're fine. Naruto-kun, what was the inspiration for going so far into the forest of death? You know how dangerous that place is, don't you? Naruto stood up and dusted himself off. Of course I do. That's why I went in there for a challenging fight. I'm training to kill my opponents, Guy-sensei, not just defeat them. I need to be used to ending lives whenever I need to. And since I'm pretty sure that absolutely nobody would miss any of those spiders being gone, I go in there to fight them. It's amazingly good battle experience. The Genin all deadpanned, we noticed. Naruto chuckled but then turned a suspicious eye on them. Wait a minute, what were you all doing in there? The only person besides me that ever goes in there is Anko. and she doesn't even spend time there like I do. She'll just go in far enough to train in peace or find me to spar, not deep into the back end of the place. Guy nodded. We had a mission to head into the Forest of Death and find the source of all of the sounds coming from the place. Naruto laughed slightly. Well, mission complete because you're looking at him. I make tons of shadow clones and have them work on lots of different stuff. Pretty cool, huh? While I handle my physical stuff, they can handle things like my chakra control and ninjutsu. Neji understood what he was saying. So you get the accumulative memories of your shadow clones, and while they do memory-related things, you go in and develop things like strength, speed, and... He stopped and looked back into the forest. Battle experience. Naruto grinned and nodded. Lee ran up to Naruto and dropped into his stance. You have inspired me, Naruto-kun. I challenge you to a friendly spar. Naruto's sweat dropped. Lee, it's almost midnight. I've been spending the last 12 hours fighting a life or death battle against spiders from hell. You're all exhausted from looking for me and fighting spiders by my side. And lastly, how many spiders did you kill? Lee looked confused until his eyes widened and he hit the ground to begin his push-ups. You have bested me this time, Naruto-kun. Next time I will win our challenge and show how splendid a ninja I am. I will complete these push-ups or else I will run laps around Konoha on my hands until the sun comes up. And if I cannot do that, I will. Naruto walked off with Ten and Neji in tow as Guy stood over Lee shouting about his youthfulness. Naruto gave Neji a chuckling smile, and that's how you handle that. I don't see what you and Kakashi were all bent out of shape about when it comes to those two. As far as having Lee as my eternal rival, it's easier than not having him as my eternal rival. I can just beat him once and not deal with him until he's through with all of his self-given punishments. He won't mess with me again until he's done with them all, and by then I can disappear. Neji's eyes widened. He had never thought to realize that the times that he defeated Lee in their spars, Lee would leave him alone until 3 days to a week later. When he ignored Lee, he would get a challenge every hour on the hour until he accepted. Naruto and Ten laughed at the look of contemplation on his face. On the flip side of that, you two have to see him tomorrow and deal with him talking about how he's going to beat me next time all day long. He has to track me down if he wants to do that to me. Yep. Being Lee's rival actually spares me more of the creepy sunset genjutsu sus than not being Lee's rival. Ten realized that Naruto was right. He'd only seen it twice. Once when they first met before the Chunin exams, and once before they all went to get his sword. Any other time when he was around them, he would usually accept Lee's challenge, win or lose, and then bid everyone a swift goodbye. Compared to the people that are around when Lee and Guy have their little moments in town, and not even trying to tally up all of the times that it had happened around Neji and Ten since the team had been formed, she realized that Naruto had to have the pretty much lowest victimization rate of being subjected to the sunset of youth. Naruto grinned at the faces that both of them were making. I can see that you both have something to say, so go ahead and say it. Before Naruto could notice, the tenketsu in his legs had been sealed off, and Ten and Neji had used his momentary incapacitation to start dragging him back to Lee and Guy. Ten threw him at Guy's feet, disrupting Lee's push-ups. Guy-sensei. Naruto was just telling me and Neji that he thought he needed more youth after all of the youth that he exuded during his last mission and during his training today. Neji nodded in agreement. Naruto looked at the girl with a strange look. Really? That was the best you've got? That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything. Ever. There's no way they're going to fall for that. He noticed that his words didn't deter the evil grins on the faces of the normal members of Team Guy who pointed behind him. Ten waved to him. I'll see you when my team meets up tomorrow, Naruto-kun. Before he could say anything, Guy and Lee had placed their hands on Naruto's shoulders and had hoisted him to his feet with tears pouring from their eyes. Do not worry, Naruto-kun. Lee and I always have time for a comrade in youth. Lee nodded vigorously. If need be, Guy-sensei and I will stay up all night with you, making sure that your fires of youth are fully replenished. Naruto resigned to his fate and turned back to the still smiling Neji and Ten with a dark look. I hope you enjoy this. Because you both know that you're getting fucked for this, right? He never got their response as Lee and Guy had dragged him off to their usual training ground. Naruto-kun, in order to build your flames back up, I want 1,000 punches with each arm and 1,000 kicks with each leg. After that, we'll go for an invigorating run around Konoha. On our hands, 10 times! Naruto's cries of protest could be heard throughout the night. A few particularly familiar screams of genjutsu-induced horror may have woken the majority of the village's citizens, but in the case of one bun-haired girl and one young branch Hyuga, it was just what they needed to lull themselves to sleep. It's about time something like this came up. I'm kind of nervous, though, Naruto thought to himself, as he sat in the trees just surrounding a somewhat secure clearing. After 2 months of doing C-rank missions with a team, he was given a solo B-rank mission of his own. Remembering what Tsunade had told him about one of his teams a few months back, that they had thought he might be somewhat good as an Anbu, he figured this was something of a tryout mission or something. Chunin don't get solo missions, so he figured this was the only thing this could be. His mission had been to head to a town in the Land of Moon. Tsunade wasn't very forthcoming with the information on exactly what he was doing here at all, but he figured this wasn't some kind of trap or anything. Why would she kill him off? So all he really had to go on was that he had to meet a contact once he arrived. This was the first time he'd worked without a team in years. And while he wasn't expecting anything anywhere near the borderline suicide things that he had done the last time he had solo missions, it was always nice to be ready just in case. Instead of taking his usual clothing, he decided to don his execution gear that he had worn during his escapades in Kumogakure. He doubted that it would really matter what he wore for this job, because as long as he had his forehead protector, he was told that the contact would find him, but hey, why not? After a few days off following the diplomatic mission to Kumo, he had been blasted with back-to-back missions ranging from escorts to bandit extermination. They had been mostly a snooze fest, mainly because he had an entire team to help him out. Nothing had occurred like the disaster to the Land of Waves, thank God, but he missed the action. The only instruction that the boy had received for his mission was to head to an inland town on the Land of Moon and find the bar that had been listed when he first left before burning his mission scroll. After entering this small town, it wasn't too difficult to find, as this town was not too large like the coastal towns that the tourist country were more known for. Upon entering the bar, Naruto had to stop and check back outside to see if he had made a mistake. It wasn't. That was the only bar in the town. The reason he had to check after first entering was because the first thing that greeted the boy was a loud, boisterous laugh that he was quite familiar with. The sight of spiky white hair filled his vision upon first walking in to add on to the laugh. Whoa! Slow down, ladies, there's enough of the great Jiraiya to go around. Jiraiya, as per the course, was surrounded by a bevy of women hanging off of his money-ar, his every word. Naruto couldn't believe that Jiraiya was his contact for whatever he was about to do, so he simply sauntered past without stirring the man's interest, and made his way to the bartender. Pulling off his hood, he showed off his forehead protector in the low light of the bar and sighed as the man looked at him. "We don't serve minors, kid, you know that." Naruto gave him a dry look. "I know your country has a hidden village, so you should know better." Naruto flicked the metal on his headband, showing to the man that he was a ninja. "1 bottle of sake, please, whatever brand you think a kid should be drinking." The man nodded and turned to grab Naruto's order. A kid shouldn't be drinking at all. So what's a Konoha ninja doing in the Land of Moon? Naruto gave him a wry grin. "I'm on vacation." Turning back around and pouring Naruto his first cup with a smirk, he spoke. "Kid, you're in the wrong place for a vacation. There are no resorts or attractions around here." Naruto chuckled as he began sipping his drink. "Let's just say I find the charm of the countryside appeals to me more than the beaches do." The man let out an amused laugh. "You're a strange kid. What kind of kid doesn't like the beach?" Pointing to himself, Naruto refilled his cup after finishing off his first one. "This one right here." The banter was stopped short when a hand placed itself on Naruto's shoulder. The guard covering the back of the hand gave away who it was, Ero saying. "What are you doing all the way out here?" Jiraiya had a grin on his face as he sat next to Naruto at the bar. "What? Kid, you don't think it's just a wonderful coincidence that you and I met up here, in this bar, in the middle of nowhere, randomly out of the blue?" Naruto had to crack a smile at that. Maybe it's because Baya-chan told me that you would be calling for me to start working with me after a few months, and the deadline is very close. Add on to that, she said she would clear me for some time off, and she ends up sending me on a mission to the country with more resorts than anywhere else in the elemental nations. That kind of tells me something when I combine it with running into you while looking for my Konoha contact. The older man snatched Naruto's bottle of sake and looked at him strangely. You drink, kid? Naruto shrugged. I had my drink with Gamabunta and I actually like the stuff. I don't indulge daily like Bayashan and I don't down 2 or 3 in one sitting like you, so don't worry. I take offense to that, kid. Jiraiya asked for another cup from the bartender before pouring himself a drink. So what have you been doing since I last saw you? I've been just training. I don't know what to say. I've just been working on regaining my jutsu and my wind affinity. I never found out how to go any further with it, so I've just been cutting tons of leaves with my shadow clones since whatever they learn, I learn. Jiraiya nodded. So how far can you go with you-know-who right now? Naruto raised 3 fingers and continued to drink. Jiraiya stroked his chin. That's actually very good. You weren't supposed to be able to use that much of its chakra yet. I have to unlock a bit of your seal for you to go any further. Honestly, you shouldn't have been able to draw that much. Naruto frowned. Drawing that much isn't convenient. If I take any more than one tail, it takes way too long to be effective. I need about 5 to 10 minutes of preparation time depending on how much I use. I had to come up with an alternative way of increasing my power in a pinch, and even that takes too long to use in the middle of a fight. The upside of it is that it is a fantastic visual distraction, but on the flip side it hurts like hell to use. Jiraiya grunted in though. You've been through this in your head quite a bit, haven't you? Naruto nodded and took another sip. Every other Jinchuriki out there can wipe the floor with me as I am. I've never said that to anyone in Konoha, but it's true. I went to Kumo. Both of their Jinchuriki have absolute control. Like Gaara did, but without the crazy hostile takeover of their demon. Hell, I'll say that the only reason I beat him is because I had Gamabunta run interference on the simple-minded fuck while I woke Gaara up. If I had tried to just fight and match power, even with Gamabunta there, we might have lost. Jiraiya stroked his chin. I'll loosen your seal and have you work with that. Maybe then you can have an easier time using the Kyuubi's chakra faster. Naruto picked up the bottle he had purchased and stood. Well then, let's go do this already. Akatsuki isn't going to wait for me to get stronger, and this obviously isn't a mission. Is that all we're going to work on? Jiraiya stood up after him and led him out. Nope. Nope. You obviously know how to draw upon the Kyuubi's chakra if you've been experimenting with it like you've said, so I don't need to give you time to learn that. You can make Rasengan absolutely perfectly, so you don't need to work on that. Speaking of Rasengan, if we can get through your training the way I anticipate we can, then I'll tell you something special about that. Naruto looked up at the taller man. So what are we going to do? Jiraiya grinned down at him. You needed to know the next step to furthering your wind manipulation, didn't you? Well, I'll show you what to do to work on that. You started on it back when you were a kid, right? Naruto nodded. Danzo told me about the leaf-splitting exercise a few months before my little incident in Otagakure. I still blame you, by the way. Jiraiya's face fell. So you still hate me, do you, kid? Naruto shook his head. No, not anymore. If there was anything that I learned en route, it was that Konoha comes first. If you and the old man thought that I was a threat to the village, I can see why you didn't wait for me to wake before acting. I don't like it, I probably never will like it, and I'll always have some spot in me that resents that, but I understand. Naruto saw that they were exiting the town. It's why I can forgive my father, too. Jiraiya's eyes widened at that. You know. Naruto gave him a foxy smirk. Tsunade Baka never told you that I did she? Yeah, I know, and I have to say that I need to be more observant. It was staring me in the face every damn day for years, and I had to have help to figure it out. Jiraiya sighed deeply and looked down. You know, kid, I was supposed to be your godfather. Naruto didn't bat an eye. Oh, really? That's cool. So I should call you Iro Kyufu now, right? Naruto didn't receive an answer and turned to see Jiraiya staring at him with his jaw dropped. What? Jiraiya wiped the look of shock off of his face. You aren't upset or even in denial on that? Naruto shrugged. Why would I be? Even if you had been looking for me in Konoha, you would have been hard-pressed to actually find me and do anything godfatherly with me. I went to Danzo when I was 4. I only went to the apartment to keep up appearances with Hokage Gigi. He was like clockwork. It was easy to figure out when he was showing up, so I was always home on days when he would visit. I'm not going to be a little punk and complain about why you never came to check up on me. Because I never asked to be checked up on. You had your responsibilities and your own baggage to deal with. I did too, and I don't think I want to find out what I would have ended up like if you had been an active influence in my formative years. Naruto finished with a smirk. Jiraiya smiled down at Naruto. So you know about your dad, do you? Are you going to follow in his footsteps? You're a damn talented kid. Naruto put on a thinking face. If you're asking whether or not I want to be Hokage, I don't know. It doesn't seem like my niche in the grand scheme of things. Jiraiya looked at him in slight surprise. You're really different from your other self. Being Hokage was the thing that drove him. He always said he'd be Hokage and get everyone's respect. Naruto raised a finger, and that's my point. I'm not like that anymore. I didn't want their respect by wanting to be the Hokage. I wanted their adoration. I don't give a fuck what the majority of those people think about me. If they hate me, fine. Go ahead and hate me. But I want their respect in the purest form, not any kind of love from them. They can sneer at me and say things behind my back all they would like, but when I'm dead they better recognize the fact that I was the best damn ninja that they ever had the pleasure of seeing in person. Jiraiya grinned at how brash he was being. It's almost like how he would talk about being Hokage back when he wore that jumpsuit. I don't even think he knows he's saying it like that. Naruto continued, as long as my name is emblazoned in the history books. And a 97-year-old Iruka-sensei is still yelling at a classroom full of brats to shut the hell up so they can study Naruto Uzumaki. And why exactly he was so important to the village, I'll be fine. I want the kids of my generation to sit down with their kids and tell stories of the time that Naruto Uzumaki saved their asses. He chuckled slightly. I'm kind of already doing that. I've already manipulated the landscape on a massive scale. The crater in the Forest of Bone near the Valley of the End was made during my fight with Kimimaro Kaguya. It's not as big as the Valley of the End, but it's the best anyone's done in almost 100 years. Jiraiya picked up on something during his monologue. How did that crater even get there in the first place? The Kaguya clan doesn't have any attacks that could make craters like that. Naruto pointed to his stomach. It's a part of the thing that I came up with to make up for not being able to use that much of Kyuubi's chakra. It's strong, but damn does it hurt. It cracked every bone in my body to use. Chuckle Kyuubi bitched me out about it after the fight. Jiraiya had a new point of interest now. You speak to the Kyuubi. Naruto nodded. Yeah. When I was little, it was a hard ass. As a matter of fact, it's still kind of a hard ass, but I can't imagine not having it in me. It's like I was never alone, even when I was. Naruto snickered. By the way, you're on the Kyuubi's top 20 list of people that it wants to eat one of these days. Jiraiya blinked in confusion. It has a list of people that it wants to eat? And I'm on it? Naruto grinned. Yep, you're number 14 because of when you sealed me. That really pissed it off. Gigi is number 4 because of giving the order. It said I used to be on it, but I ended up getting myself off of it after I unsealed myself. Jiraiya had to ask, I know I'm going to regret asking, but who is number 1? It's Minato, right? Naruto shook his head. Nope. He's actually number 20 and bordering on leaving the list altogether. Number 1 is Madara Uchiha. The Kyuubi says that it hates that bastard and wants to eat him without chewing so that when it swallows him, he can die the slow way. Number 2 is Hashirama Senju. It says that the tree-hugging bastard can go down the wrong tube just so it can spit him up and eat him again. Jiraiya had to take a minute to picture that and cringed visibly. Wait, you're not on its list? Why not? You are its prison after all. Naruto grinned like he had a secret. Yeah, I'm its prison. I control pretty much everything in my head. Before I started trying to use its chakra when I was a kid, I had to make sure I had supreme control of myself. I changed everything in there to better accommodate it. Nobody wants to spend an entire lifetime in a leaky cage in a sewer, and I made some deals with the Kyuubi to make both of our lives easier. Seeing as how having a giant fox in a leaky cage in my head would piss it off unnecessarily, I fixed it. Jiraiya and Naruto continued to chat as they made their way into the wilderness of the Land of Moon. 2 days later. We've been walking for 2 days, Zero saying. Where are we going? Jiraiya led Naruto through a particularly wilder patch of brush that was beginning to irritate the blonde. He could swear Jiraiya was swinging those branches back into his face, trying to be funny. Jiraiya smiled to himself at seeing that the kid was starting to get frustrated with just walking around. Calm down, kid. We're here. Just head on past this undergrowth here, and we'll be there. As they kept moving, a distinct roaring noise became louder and louder. Jiraiya and Naruto pushed through some more vegetation and stopped as Naruto's jaw dropped. Whoa. Sweet. Jiraiya could see that Naruto was pleased with his choice of training environment, a river running through the island that was situated in their current position right by a waterfall. Naruto walked over to the edge of the water and looked up at the cascade while Jiraiya walked up next to him. Yep. You needed one for the next part of your training, and staying in Konoha would have been boring. I thought about going to the village hidden by a waterfall, but I don't think they would have let you in just so you could mess with their waterfall. Naruto nodded, though he was barely listening until his mind registered the word training. So a waterfall is important to my training? Okay, I'll bite. What am I doing with this thing? It's very simple, my boy. Jiraiya had a sly grin on his features. You already know how to split a leaf with your wind chakra. Well, this is kind of like that. It's just that instead of splitting a leaf, you have to split a waterfall. Jiraiya was eager to hear Naruto's outburst at what he had to do. But Naruto's face never changed from the slightly dull expression that one had when they were thinking about something. The outburst never came, on the outside at least. What the fuck? Split a goddamn waterfall. Who am I, the fucking second Hokage? Shut the fuck up, kid. I'm trying to sleep, he said to cut the waterfall. Not stop it, you retard. If you're going to split the waterfall, just split it and leave me alone. Naruto had mentally stirred the Kyuubi from its slumber, and it was none too pleased. Naruto turned his venom onto the Kyuubi. Oh, really, Mr. I can flatten mountains and raise tsunami's with swings of my tails? Why don't you bring your big chakra-conducive ass out here and make me? The Kyuubi growled lowly and started radiating chakra. I'm not a mister, you idiot. I'm a corporeal mass of chakra. And come in here and say that to my face, human, and see if you don't leave with more than a few chunks of your ass missing. Jiraiya snapped his fingers in front of the unresponsive Naruto's face. Oi, kid. I think I broke him. Naruto, however, was oblivious to the outside world as he was busy having a territorial pissing contest with a demon of near infinite power. Oh, I'll come in there, but that's the last thing that your furry ass wants. I'll shove my boots so far up your ass your tongue will have grip. The only reason my tongue would have grip is because I ate your legs and decided to keep your shoes afterwards to chew on. You're obviously forgetting who you're talking to. Kid. Naruto was finally brought back to the world of the waking by Jiraiya shaking him and yelling at him, What hero's saying? I was in the middle of something with my inner furball who was being an ass. Jiraiya's sweat dropped. Yeah, bitch at the Kyuubi later, we have work to do. Just channel your chakra and try to cut it the way you did with the leaf. He pointed. You can use the bridge over there as a stable point to stand on. Naruto nodded. Who built the bridge on the waterfall? We're in the middle of nowhere. Jiraiya preened like a peacock. I built it myself. I found this spot and decided to bring you out here, kid. Someone else decided to chime in once more. Who the fuck else would have built it, you brain-dead, hairless ape? Naruto growled on the outside. I'm sick of your bullshit, Kyuubi. Be productive or shut the hell up and go back to sleep. Jiraiya tapped Naruto. Jeez, calm down, kid. Kyuubi chuckled and spoke mockingly. Listen to the hermit, kid. Calm down. Just calm down. Calm down. Just calm down. Calm down. Just calm down. Naruto's eye twitched. Mute. Naruto sighed in relief as the Kyuubi's voice went silent. I forgot I could do that. What the hell is up with him? He hasn't tried to provoke me like that in forever. Naruto turned to Jiraiya. Sorry about that, arrow sahing. You were saying? Jiraiya frowned momentarily. He is already showing signs of the added demonic chakra from the loosening of the seal. Maybe I should have waited until after we finished his elemental training to do it. Alright kid, get up there and get started on trying to split that waterfall. Naruto saluted Jiraiya and scampered to a spot in the middle of the waterfall on the bridge. Pulling his hood up to avoid getting totally soaked, he stuck his hands into the waterfall and began generating wind chakra. Naruto could feel the force of the waterfall snuff out the force of his minuscule amount of chakra. Okay, it looks like I need to come up with more raw force to split this thing. Goody. Naruto shook his hands dry as Jiraiya came up next to him on the bridge holding an umbrella. This is more or less a trip to get you started on the training. The entire process could take upwards of a few years to master. Naruto looked at Jiraiya before forming a cross seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto filled the bridge with copies of himself that immediately went to work trying to cut the waterfall. I just wanted to try it for myself before I had my shadow clones do it. I have something I need to do for myself right about now. Naruto jumped off of the bridge to the surface of the water and walked ashore before sitting down and getting into a meditative position. Jiraiya appeared at his side. What are you going to do, kid? Naruto looked up at Jiraiya. I'm going to go into my mindscape so that me and the fox can hash out our little situation. Jiraiya looked apprehensive. That might not be such a good idea if it's mad at you, kid. Naruto shook his head. Why not? I mean, we've been at each other's throats before, but it blows over. We fuck with each other. I stopped being malicious about it years ago. Naruto shut his eyes and put his hands back in the ram sign. Jiraiya grabbed his hands and broke his concentration again. Don't! Remember when I told you that I was going to loosen the QB's seal to give you better access to its power? Well, I did it the other night while you were asleep when I said I was going to check your seal. Haven't you felt yourself getting more aggressive and angered easier? Naruto nodded. I figured that puberty was finally starting to make me nuts with all of the shots of testosterone. You're telling me it's because the QB's chakra is leaking out more steadily now? Jiraiya pulled Naruto's shirt up and revealed that the seal was showing even though Naruto wasn't doing anything. Your body is adjusting to the influx of demonic chakra, though now it's more important than ever for you to control your emotions. It's now far easier for you to lose control when you become angered. You tried picking a fight with the QB a few minutes ago. I would have slapped you right then if I wasn't sure that it would have made you madder. Naruto blushed out of embarrassment of being called out like that. It had been months since anyone had called him out for being overly emotional. Having been en route, he took it somewhat personal that he was being told that he needed to control himself until he realized that he had been freer with his outbursts than even 4 months ago. Jiraiya noticed this. I'm not saying that being expressive makes you a bad ninja. I mean, just look at me, he said with a stupid grin that got Naruto to crack a smile. But you've got to know how to manipulate your emotions rather than just go with them or cover them up. If you're mad, learn how to channel that elsewhere. I've seen that you're none too shabby at the trash talk. That's good. Things like that can help you. Naruto nodded. So you don't want me to go into my mindscape, at least not right now anyway? Jiraiya patted the boy on the shoulder. No, don't go in there for a while at least. Probably until your seal disappears from view when you're just sitting idle like now. I'll tell you when it's okay to try. He pulled Naruto to his feet. Now, while your clones are doing their thing, why don't you show me what you can do? Naruto smirked and started bouncing around in loose stance. You do know that I'm going to take out quite a bit of aggression on you, don't you? Jiraiya grinned and crossed his arms across his chest. You do realize that I'm the strongest ninja in Konoha, don't you, kid? Naruto rolled his eyes. There's that S-ranked superiority complex again. I can't wait until one of you guys gets schooled by some low-level nobody that couldn't shine your forehead protector on your worst day. Jiraiya barked out a laugh. It's not like I'm taking you lightly, Naruto. I've seen what you can do. Now that was then. This is now. Feel free to cut loose and hit me with your best shot. Naruto looked somewhat apprehensive. Are you sure? I mean, some of my stuff is really heavy. I mean, really heavy. And I'm not talking about the stuff you've seen either. I could get you with a lucky shot and you could be a goner. Jiraiya waved him off. If you manage to push me that far to the extent that actually you wound me like that, then that just means I'm getting rusty. and needed the ass kicking anyway. Now come on, kid, you're still 10 years too soon to beat me. Naruto's smirk returned full force as he blurred from Jiraiya's sight. Jiraiya wheeled to the side to block a jumping kick from the blonde. Jiraiya's face held quite a bit of amusement. Faster now, aren't we? I've been training with Rock Lee and Mike Guy for a while now. They said that I was slow. That kind of pissed me off, but damn. The way that they train, I'm not surprised. Naruto pulled his leg from Jiraiya's arm and lashed out at his body with a straight punch that Jiraiya parried down. Naruto kept his attack low with sweeps, low kicks, and attempts at body shots, but Jiraiya was way faster than him without the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto expected as much, but it was still a kick in the teeth to stomach. Speaking of kicks in the teeth, Jiraiya eventually got tired of dodging and planted the soles of his shoe into Naruto's face, sending him flying back. Don't get lazy with your attack pattern, kid. You're not faster than me, so you can't overwhelm me like you do everyone else. Fight smarter. Naruto picked himself up and made 3 shadow clones before rushing Jiraiya again. That brought a grin back to the legend's face as he found himself in a hodgepodge of a premeditated taijutsu assault from the clones and the boy himself. Jiraiya had to admit that the clones were very coordinated. They definitely knew their role in the attack. Since one hit would dispel them, Naruto had them play more of a pestering role, trying for low success rate strikes from Jiraiya's blind spots. Things like flashy jumping spin kicks and the like. He also had them shouting and yelling. While this was a good way to distract most opponents with the false threat of the clones, it also gave away the real Naruto, who was right in front of Jiraiya the entire time, staying out of range of the man's attacks, and trying to keep a lower profile by staying silent until he thought that one of his shadow clone's feints had enough of Jiraiya's attention to attempt a short rush. If he had tried this on anyone his rank or below, hell, if he had tried this on a few jonin that specialized in flashier arts, and weren't good enough at taijutsu to keep the kid off of them, he would have beaten them into a bloody pulp fighting the way he was. Unfortunately for Naruto's plan, Jiraiya was fast enough and aware enough to dodge everything and pinpoint the real body. Averting his eyes as a feint of his own to draw the real Naruto in, he grabbed the original's arm while ducking kicks from 2 of the clones. He knew this was the original because he pulled him in and drilled him right in the stomach with a powerful shot to send him flying back again. The clones tried attacking all at once, but Jiraiya stood between them all calmly and flew through his hand signs too fast for them to stop. Needle Jizo! The clones were dispelled when Jiraiya's hair grew to surround his body and hardened and sharpened to puncture the poor things. Jiraiya let his hair regress and stood straight up, clapping his hands. That was nice, kid. You made me use a jutsu. Naruto narrowed his eyes in determination. Well, since you showed me yours. Naruto made hand signs and placed his hands on the ground. Thank you, Yugi-chan. Lightning release. Live-wired jutsu. Naruto sent out a speedy burst of arcing electricity from where his hands touched the ground in front of him at Jiraiya. Jiraiya made a hum noise and jumped high into the air over the crackling electricity before making his own hand signs. Fire release. Flame bullet. Jiraiya shot a bullet of flaming oil at Naruto, who was still on the ground. Naruto simply darted away from Jiraiya's aim and decided to try and catch him hanging in the air. Naruto grinned as he made hand signs and linked his fists together. Got you, hanging arrow, saying, wind release. Divine fist of the wind god. Naruto shot the attack in the direction of Jiraiya's fall to time it to make contact. Jiraiya saw this coming and shot another flaming bullet at the shimmering wind attack, causing a mid-air explosion that allowed him to land safely. Naruto snapped his fingers in disappointment while Jiraiya dug out his ear. Damn, kid, you cleared out the wax with that last explosion. Naruto shook his head in amusement and flipped Jiraiya off. Whatever, I'm getting closer. I'm going to knock the hell out of you by the time this is over at least once, I guarantee it. Jiraiya chuckled. This lasts as long as I let it last. Don't get a swollen head here. I'm strong enough to kill you 10 times over. Naruto growled and ran in to attack again. Underestimating me will get you killed. He threw shuriken at Jiraiya in an attempt to direct his movement a certain way, but Jiraiya just moved aside and let them pass. Naruto grinned and placed his palms together. Wind release. Violent wind palm. Naruto created an updraft stream of wind that Jiraiya hunkered down to let pass and wait for Naruto's charge. But it flew right past him and carried to the shuriken that Naruto threw, forcing them to sweep high into the air back over Jiraiya's head. A few more hand signs from Naruto signaled another jutsu. Lightning release, lightning shuriken. The shuriken over Jiraiya's head began raining down bolts of lightning that he was forced to dodge. Upon getting out of the storm of electricity, he hastily ducked a cutting jump kick from Naruto that would have made good on the kid's promise to nail him with a good shot at least once today. Jiraiya grabbed hold of Naruto's leg and flung him off hard. He flipped to his feet to see Jiraiya make the boar and tiger hand signs before slamming his hands to the ground. Earth release, swamp of the underworld. Naruto made a yipe noise and jumped high into the air, but didn't clear enough ground to escape the swamp. Gotcha, kid. I'm not good at this yet, but it should do for this. Naruto smirked. You think so? Wind release, wind burst. Naruto seemingly jumped on nothing but air and shot himself the rest of the way over the swamp. Jiraiya's jaw dropped until he realized that Naruto was hovering directly over him and was falling fast. Naruto linked his fists together again and pushed them out. Wind release. Divine fist of the wind god. Jiraiya hightailed it out from under Naruto, before the ground where he was standing ended up with massive fist-shaped marks flattened into the earth. The force of pushing out the jutsu helped Naruto land softer. Jiraiya shouted at the boy, What the hell, kid? Where are you learning all of this crap? And who the hell taught you any lighting ninjutsu? Naruto dusted himself off. I knew this stuff when I was en route. I'm just now starting to get them back, and there are still more that I can't do yet. I never could. Danzo had me learn them in the hopes that I could get the control to use them one day. And about the lightning jutsu, let's just say a certain cat in Kumo likes me well enough to teach me some stuff. By now there were sounds of a raucous crowd, confusing both fighters until they looked at the waterfall and saw the clones knocking off from working on splitting the waterfall to watch them fight. Apparently they were well entertained. Naruto sweat dropped while Jiraiya guffawed nearby. Really obedient clones you've got there. Naruto palmed his head and dragged it through his hair. Well, I do work them pretty hard, so I guess this is okay. He turned to the clones and put on a confident pose. Who wants to see me kick Iro-sang's ass? A loud cheer went up from his clones with the exception of one. Boo! Iro-sang stomp a mud hole into the boss's lazy ass. Always having us do this shit while he gets to fight. Jiraiya grinned cheesily at the clone and gave it a thumbs up. The original Naruto was looking at the lone shadow clone blankly, as were the rest. Naruto pointed at him. You shut up. Before the clone could respond, Naruto dispelled him. Jiraiya turned to Naruto. What's the matter? Can't take the fact that even you know that I'm going to kick your ass, kid. Naruto set himself back into a ready stance. Hey, I need unanimous support for myself. I can't be telling myself I'm going to lose. Naruto ran at Jiraiya and tried dropping a falling axe kick on him that was dodged. Jiraiya tried to retaliate with a backhand strike at him that Naruto caught in his hands. Jiraiya pulled him back towards him and kicked him in the stomach, forcing Naruto to let go. Jiraiya kneeled down near Naruto, who was coughing heavily on the ground, crouched in a near ball. As if I'm going to let you keep a grip on me and use your scary strong strength to throw me around like a 6'2" ragdoll. I'm still physically stronger than you. I noticed. Naruto leapt to his feet and shoved his right hand out at Jiraiya, which contained a familiar blue ball of spiraling chakra. Rasengan! Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and formed his own Rasengan to clash with Naruto's. I'll show you how it's done, kid. Rasengan. The two attacks clashed against one another, both chakra balls grinding against one another forcefully. Naruto held his ground as best he could, but was steadily being overpowered. In a last-ditch effort, he overloaded his own Rasengan with too much power. Jiraiya saw the evil smirk on Naruto's face and had his eyes widen as he felt the extra influx of chakra. In a flash of blue, the technique exploded, throwing both of them off. Naruto landed in the water while Jiraiya plowed into the trees hiding the waterfall. Pulling himself ashore, Naruto saw Jiraiya slumped against the trees and stood to run his way over to continue the fight before he could stand. As he drew close, he skidded to a stop as Jiraiya fell apart to mud. Naruto looked around but was too late as his surroundings changed. Instead of being outdoors near a waterfall, he was instead surrounded by pink, fleshy walls. Naruto tried to punch his way out, but ended up sinking his hand into the wall when Jiraiya's voice rang out, seemingly from outside. "How do you like that, kid?" Naruto's legs began sinking into the ground of whatever he was in. This is summoning. Toad, mouth, bind. There's no way out of this. It's the esophagus of the great fire-breathing mountain toad. There's nothing you can do, it's over. I could get the walls to digest you if you want to act like you're not beaten. Naruto sighed. Yeah. I quit. You win. In a puff of smoke, Naruto was totally freed as his clones voiced their disapproval. He turned to them and sighed. All right, guys, I lose. Now get back to work so that next time I won't. The clones let off a collective affirmative and returned to their task. Naruto walked over to the tree where Jiraiya's muddy replication melted as the man himself came from the trees. Jiraiya ruffled the boy's hair. Good fight, kid, you didn't do too badly. Naruto grumbled. I didn't lay a finger on you, even my double-edged move didn't do anything. Jiraiya pointed at himself, ranked ninja standing here. I told you what was going to happen. You're good, but not that good. You have way more jutsus than I thought you would. A few of your moves were something incredible for a kid your age. I don't think I'll ever get over just what you can do. Naruto sighed and walked back to the waterfall. I guess I'll join my clones on working on the waterfall. Jiraiya laughed loudly. Oh, now you're all dejected? What happened to venting some aggression on me? I guess you've learned that when it comes to dealing with hotshot know-it-all punks with blonde spiky mops, there's no one better than the great Toad Sage, Jiraiya. He finished while standing in his pose. Naruto got a tick mark on his head and formed his seal for Shadow Clone. Surrounding Jiraiya in copies of himself. Oh yeah, like a bunch of brats are going to beat me up. Ooh, I'm so scared. Change. Harem no jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Jiraiya had countless nude blonde women hanging off of him. This was too much for his brain to handle as he launched back into the woods with blood flying from his nose. Naruto dispelled the clones and headed back to the waterfall. I should have thought of that during the actual fight. 2 weeks later, Naruto had been steadily training with his clones to perfect his nature manipulation, but even with the clones, his progress was slow. They were finally making headway, with a cut beginning to form in the waterfall, but there was an agonizingly long way to go if he wanted to master his element. He had still yet to go speak to the Kyuubi after their little episode because his seal was still visible on his stomach, even when he was relaxing. He followed Jiraiya's advice and stayed put of his mind for the time being. While he had his clones handle working on the waterfall, he told Jiraiya about his interest in sealing jutsu and trying to take it up, if nothing else so that he knew what was going on with his own seal. Jiraiya agreed that it was a good skill to have and put him to work, taking him off of splitting the waterfall personally and leaving that to his shadow clones. He had Naruto start straight from the basics, which was getting his handwriting perfect so that he would make perfect strokes with his brushwork when sealing, as even a small slip could be catastrophic. Much like the work with his elemental training, it was bitter work and slow going. Made even slower by the fact that Shadow Clone would do him no good here. Getting his calligraphy perfect was more along the lines of muscle memory, like learning stances and the like, as thus it was more physical than mental. He could use them later on when he got into the practical education of sealing, but until he wrote clearer than a 10-year-old grammar student, he couldn't. Jiraiya had left him at their training spot to head towards a town to get more sealing supplies, as he was going to teach Naruto how to make his own ink to seal with, and the boy found himself alone one night by the waterfall. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turned towards the source of the voice to find a boy, roughly his age, standing in the branches of a tree. He had pale skin, short black hair, and black eyes. He wore a collared shirt that cut off at his midsection, along with black pants, black shinobi sandals, and black fingerless gloves. On his back was a tipless tanto and a backpack that could be accessed quickly in case of necessity. Naruto was sitting by the water when the boy showed himself. He stayed up in the tree. Is Jiraiya of the Sannin around? Naruto scoffed. If he was here, then you wouldn't even be this close. What do you want? Who are you? And why am I not killing you right now? I'm here for Donzo-sama. He's been wanting to get into contact with you for quite some time now. The boy bowed slightly. I have been given the name Sai for this assignment. Naruto looked at Sai with an appraising eye and decided to test out Sai's claim to be one of Donzo's men. So Donzo Gigi decides to send out a gay hood ornament to contact me. Tell him that he needs more girls en route. It's a sausage fest, I swear. Sai didn't blink at all, getting a nod from Naruto. Okay, you're Donzo's. So what's the message? I probably already know, but go ahead. Sai spoke. Donzo-sama says that you are no longer one of his tools. You were extremely useful during your time under him, but you're too risky to try and take back now. Besides that, he says that you wouldn't fit back in anyway. Naruto nodded. I figured that. He's right. I can't just disappear back to HQ now. I'm too out in the open. And he can't keep risking guys like you just to make contact with me for assignments either. It's too high of a gamble now for him to have me. He looked at Sai suspiciously. So what does this mean then? Am I a loose end for him, and he sent you to try and kill me? Sai shook his head. I am incapable of bringing you down Uzumaki. I was simply dispatched to bring you Donzo-sama's messages. You are by no means expendable. You carry his teachings inside of you deeper than any other. He just cannot risk trying to meet with you himself. It would seem too suspicious, and it is no longer necessary. Even without him, you are true to the one thing that he put into you more than anything else, that Konoha comes first. Everything we do is for Konoha. To that end, he says to you to grow stronger and protect our home. The foundations of the great tree will always be rooted inside of you, Uzumaki. Naruto nodded and turned to return to watching the water when he still sensed Sai's presence. Yes, do you still need me for something? Sai was still in place from when he first started speaking. Donzo-sama does have one last assignment for you, Uzumaki. It is one that he is certain is well within your parameters to complete. Naruto turned around and stayed seated, watching Sai carefully. One last mission, huh? What the hell, why not? One more for old times' sake. I owe the old cripple that at least. He gestured for the pale boy to continue with the message, which he did without delay. Donzo-sama wants you to do all that is in your power to become Hokage. Naruto's eyes widened. Root training be damned, even though he was in front of one of the operatives. He was surprised as all hell to hear that. Donzo Gigi wants me to become Hokage? What? I thought that was his kick. Why would he want me to do it? Sai stared at Naruto emotionlessly. He has not truly given up. Donzo-sama is getting old, Uzumaki. He says that the death of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the last Hokage, showed him his own mortality. He is well aware of the fact that he will probably die before another opportunity to take the position ever shows itself again. You are the closest thing to an apprentice that he has. He has shown you his ways of working. He has shown you what he could about the system of the village. With you in power, he would feel secure in the fact that Konoha would have a cage that would truly be strong enough to handle the job, to do what is necessary. Naruto still couldn't believe it. Why me? Couldn't he have actually trained someone for something like this? Sai spoke again. Who else would suffice? Even though you have Donzo-sama's backing, no one knows it. He could never instill his views into someone and send them into the political world without suspicion arising. You already are mistrusted by a good portion of the population, and you are slowly turning that number around. You already have the backing of a few significant names in the village due to your actions and character alone. The entire country of the Land of Waves sees you as a hero, for one, and you are close to the current Hokage herself, as well as the children of the Kazuya Kage, and the current Raikage favors you. You inadvertently put yourself in the position for this. Naruto looked at his hands. Me, the Hokage. It was a pipe dream of a foolish mindset, not something real. And he wants me to actually go for it? Sai turned to walk away. I have given you Donzo-sama's words to you, but he asked me to leave you with this in case you were having trouble. Turning around to face Naruto, he looked at him firmly. Where there is light, there is shadow. To be a shinobi is to sacrifice oneself. Closing your eyes to the sunlight, distinguishing yourself in the shadows, that is the true form of a ninja. Naruto nodded in agreement, but snapped his eyes open when Sai continued. But that is not your destiny, Uzumaki. The truth is, you are the leaves bathing in the sun, and I am the roots that grow in the dark. Naruto looked up at Sai, who turned and began walking back to the woods. Before he made it to the edge of the trees, he turned around one last time. You have the full support of Danzo-sama and Root. We will be in touch, Uzumaki. Do not worry about that. We will not disappear. Sai gave Naruto a closed-eye smile that seemed totally out of character and left the area, leaving Naruto alone with himself. Naruto looked at his reflection in the moonlit water. Splashing the water to disrupt the image, he looked up to the moon and sighed. The last order from Donzo Jiji, become Hokage or D trying. Naruto chuckled to himself. Naruto Uzumaki, the sixth Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato. Now that sounds like it would look good in a history book. Jiraiya looked over Naruto's handiwork from the last few hours, and hummed thoughtfully before balling up the paper he was looking at just moments before. Nope. It's total crap, kid. Do it again. Naruto grumbled at the Toad Summoner as he pulled out more paper and began copying down the practice strokes, kanji, and symbols that Jiraiya had given him to improve his calligraphy. The important physical things that Naruto needed to be a decent sealing artist were great speed with his strokes and flawless writing ability. It had been a month since Naruto had spoken to Sai, and he and Jiraiya were still out in the wilderness of the Land of Moon by the waterfall. His clones were starting to make some headway with splitting the waterfall. It was amazing to Jiraiya how fast he was getting the exercise with the help of the clones. He figured that he would have it down by the time they needed to return to Konoha. During the day, he would have Naruto make his clones to work on the waterfall splitting, while he had Naruto study the theories of sealing jutsu. After lunch, he would make Naruto spar with him before setting him to work on his brush skills, which was Naruto's least favorite practice of the day, but it needed to be done. Sealing jutsu was seemingly tethered to every major event in Naruto's life thus far. When one thought about it, it literally made him who he was, for better or for worse. Therefore, for him to know nothing about it would have been a travesty. He had been planning on delving into it even before he made his promise to Anko. However, learning it was a pain in the ass. It was hard to reteach yourself how to write after doing it a certain way for as long as you could remember. But that was basically what he was being forced to do. Every little mark needed to be perfect for sealing jutsu to be effective, or else terrible things could happen. Naruto was never so thankful for his quick healing, or else his hands and wrists would have been shot beyond use by now. Naruto was simply taking it slow this time, making sure that his movements on the parchment were perfect enough to avoid mistakes. Naruto noticed the light begin to fade, and as he looked over at Jiraiya, he could see that the man did too. Jiraiya headed off towards the waterfall, yelling over his shoulder, I'm going to go tell your clones to dispel. You can stop for the day. We're done here. Naruto nodded and sighed as he started picking up all of the discarded papers with the efforts of his daily labor on them and put them away. He finally had time to think over all of the things that had happened to him lately. He found out that his dad was the fourth Hokage. Strangely enough, when he started piecing things together, it wasn't that hard to see. He was blonde and blue-eyed, hell some people called him the fourth spitting image. He was also a Jinchuriki. Most Jinchuriki are children of high-ranking shinobi, so that they have some sort of loyalty to their village. And he had Kakashi Hatake as his sensei. He still needed to find and grill Kakashi over a myriad of things once he returned to Konoha. Needless to say, he wasn't as shocked as he should have been after he got over the initial surprise from when he figured it out. This made the second thing that had recently happened even more absurd to him. He had been asked, no, ordered, to become Hokage or die trying. Danzo had sent one of his men, a boy Naruto's age dubbed Sai, for the mission to inform Naruto that Danzo had to break basically all informative ties with him, that he had to bury everything about himself en route. Naruto wasn't sure how he felt about that. On one hand, he knew the score with him and Danzo. He knew that to Danzo he was a tool to be used to protect and serve Konoha, and that he was somewhat expendable. He had come to terms with that fact years ago. On the other hand, he had spent the earlier years of his life following Danzo's lead, going off of Danzo's example, doing the things that Danzo told him to do. To say that that man no longer had any sway over his life was something he had to get used to. He was to avoid any inclination that the two had any connection. Sure, Jiraiya and Tsunade were the only people alive that knew of his past relationship, but for all intents and purposes, since the invasion, Naruto had been his own person. Naruto had played that up to the hilt. All the while he had been waiting for some word, either from an assassin or someone to give him his orders. He knew he wouldn't have been left out the way it seemed he had been. One hell of a final mission, huh, Danzo Gigi? I wonder if you knew who I really was all along? That I was the son of Minato Namikaze? Naruto thought to himself as he continued to pack away his things. Was this why Danzo figured that Naruto had a better chance than him of ever being Hokage? Danzo wasn't really trusted in most circles despite having the third Hokage's old teammates on his side. When the truth about Naruto's heritage inevitably came out, it would flip public opinion of him on its head, and open up a whole new can of worms that he hadn't even considered yet. It did somewhat make sense, though, when Naruto thought about it. Naruto cringed and held his head as he fell to the ground, memories of what had transpired amongst his shadow clones swelling his brain. Jiraiya walked back over and saw Naruto on the ground. "Kid, are you okay?" Naruto picked himself up off of the ground slowly while gingerly holding his head. "Yeah, Iro sign. I'm fine. My clones just dispelled all at once when you told them to stop. It gives me a nasty little backlash when too many of them do it at the same time." Jiraiya grinned at him. "I don't know how many times I'll say it, kid. That's one impressive little training trick." Naruto shrugged his shoulders. You take what you get. The Uchiha had their Sharingan. The Hyuga have their Byakugan. I just so happen to have a giant fox roaming my mind, and I work with it." Jiraiya scratched his hair. "So why don't you use shadow clones to help with your handwriting the way you use it with your nature manipulation training?" Naruto stood up straight and cracked his back. "Well, since handwriting is muscle memory, that would be physical instead of mental, wouldn't it?" Jiraiya palmed his forehead. "You know, sometimes I forget that you're a kid and kids aren't that smart." Naruto was about to verbally lay into the white-haired man until he raised a hand for him to stop. "Muscle memory is mental, kid. You can use shadow clones to get your handwriting to be better." Naruto just stared blankly at Jiraiya, who eventually got bored and walked away, leaving Naruto standing in place. Ono Hagakure. Hokage Tower. You wanted to see me, Hokage-sama?" A masked man with white spiky hair asked, as he demurely entered Tsunade's office behind Shizune. Tsunade had a slight twitch in her eye as she locked her eyes onto her jonin. "Yes, Kakashi. 4 hours ago. Where were you?" Kakashi smiled while rubbing the back of his head. "Well, you see, Hokage-sama, I was on my way here when—" Tsunade sighed loudly and waved him off. "Enough, Kakashi. You're lucky I need you for the swell of S-ranked missions. I didn't call you here to issue you one, though. I called you here because of another reason." Kakashi visibly deflated. "I had a good one all set up to use too." Getting himself together, he got to business. "So, Hokage-sama, what is it that you need of me?" She got herself back into an informative mode. "Kakashi, I need your help. You'll be getting a reprieve from the S-rank missions for the time being, but you'll still have to go on other missions." Ever since Team 7 had dissolved, Kakashi had been taking the highest-ranked missions available that the village could muster. The fact that he was one of the strongest ninja in the entire village pretty much led to him doing so. Kakashi looked at Tsunade. "Tsunade-sama, what do you need me to do?" Shizune dropped 2 files on Tsunade's desk, who then motioned for Kakashi to look at them. Upon opening them, he found the first page of each to be a picture of Naruto. One that was the picture that went on his ninja ID, the other a picture that Tsunade had him take after he returned from Kumo. Tsunade let Kakashi look them over for a moment. "Notice any differences between the two?" Kakashi nodded. "Yes. The first one is obviously Naruto's personnel file. I read it last year when he was assigned to my team, and I was the one that added on to it." Pointing to the other one, he continued, I have no clue what that one is for, but my guess would be you want me to begin filling out his updated file. A nod and a small smile were his answers. Yes, Kakashi. When Naruto returns, I want you to be his leader when he goes out on missions. You will be giving me progress reports on his progress and how he operates on missions. I was tempted to promote him straight to Jonin after his promotion test all those months ago, but thought that some more seasoning in the field was required first beforehand. The second thing I want you to do is to help me configure a more permanent team for him. Kakashi's eyes widened. Is there any way I could get Sakura for that team? I still want them as my squad. Tsunade looked at him strangely. I was thinking more along the lines of a team that clicked with their combined skills. Sakura isn't ready for a team like what Naruto's would probably end up being. She still needs far more training, and Naruto isn't a genin any longer. You're his squad leader for this period of time until I find him ready for a promotion. I don't think it will take long for him to get it either. Kakashi nodded. All he needs is the field experience, and I would be hard-pressed to say anything to hold him back from Jonin rank. So you basically want me to keep tabs on him and keep you informed on what he does and how good he's getting? Tsunade shrugged, pretty much. Until further notice, you'll be keeping an eye on him. He should get stronger very quickly now that he knows that Akatsuki will be coming for him in 2 more years. Just make sure he gets that far to worry about them. The Land of Moon, 1 week later. So now, instead of the usual 100 shadow clones that Naruto had dedicated to training, he had 500. Due to him being utterly bored and sick and tired of waking up to the sound of loud crashing water every morning, he increased the intensity of his workout. 250 on the waterfall training, 250 working on his handwriting, the pain in the ass that it was, and hearing 100 clones gripe to one another about the boring-ass monotonous practice was getting old. Still, Jiraiya figured that his handwriting was good enough for him to begin actively practicing. While his clones were now working on increasing the speed of their strokes, Naruto himself was learning firsthand from Jiraiya about making seals. The first thing he learned from Jiraiya was how to make his own storage seals. Naruto figured that it was all a part of the learning experience, but he didn't see any use for having a ton of sealing scrolls. Maybe he could sell them, but otherwise he was just going through what Jiraiya told him to do. The next step was making his own ink. Jiraiya instructed Naruto to drain a bit of his own blood into the ink and channel chakra into the mix for a responsive seal. Naruto wanted to know how to make explosive notes, but Jiraiya wasn't sure to trust Naruto with the knowledge of how to make his own high explosives. Simply put, when he started teaching Naruto things like that, the boy could easily then go out and get his own things to make them. He still had money left over all the way back to the mission to the Land of Waves a year ago. He was now taking higher-ranked missions, and Jiraiya had seen his home. It wasn't a very lavish place. Therefore, now that Naruto had something to blow all of his stacked-back money on besides ramen, namely ink, and the material for seals, in addition to having a nigh inexhaustible supply of shadow clone manpower to make the seals, and the normal male desire to make things go boom, as well as something akin to a blood feud with the abnormally large spiders in the Forest of Death. Jiraiya had learned this when he found Naruto talking in his sleep about the 8-legged bastards, and you can see how Jiraiya may have had reservations about getting the kid into making explosive notes. Jiraiya now had Naruto sitting down so that he could hope to find out what Naruto wanted to do with sealing jutsu. So kid, what's your reason for wanting to know about sealing jutsu? What are you hoping to get out of it? It's a kind of obscure art. Naruto was currently multitasking as he was testing out his seal-making speed with regular ink. Well, I'm a Jinchuriki. It would be pretty stupid if I didn't know anything about sealing jutsu. Hell, I'm a walking example of sealing jutsu, aren't I? More than you'll ever know, human, more than you'll ever know, were the rumblings from the fox within Naruto. Cryptic? Oh yes. Was he going to go and deal with it? Not now. He was having a conversation. Naruto cleared the Kyuubi's words from his mind and focused on the old man in front of him. I made a promise too. I promised Anko that I would get the cursed seal off of her. When I was in Otogakure all of those years ago, I memorized Araki Tima's notes on it. Some of that stuff I wish I could forget, but I have an idea of what to do to get it off of her. I just need some things first before I can do anything about it. One of those things is knowing exactly what the hell I'm dealing with, hence why I'm doing this. Jiraiya nodded. And none of this is stemming from you wanting to get the seal off of Sasuke Uchiha? He was your teammate like Orochimaru was mine. I know when Orochimaru left Konoha I was like that. I wanted to save him. Naruto snorted and placed his materials aside. Iro saying the only way that I even care about removing Uchiha Temi's seal is when I sever his head from his neck. There's no saving there. He had an entire village that was willing to save him. He had a girl that was willing to give herself to him at the cost of her own career and probably her life to save him. Fuck that, he went to a traitor for power that he could have easily gotten here. I'll save him, alright. I'll save him from becoming Orochimaru's next body, by ending him the next time we meet. But I don't care about him. I care about Orochimaru getting the Sharingan and coming to eradicate our collective asses. Jiraiya let a smile come to his face. Thank goodness I don't have to beat that. Save him stuff out of you, kid. You're smarter than I was when it happened to me. Naruto shrugged. You can't save someone that doesn't want to be saved, Iro sang. Every Hokage knows that. I wonder how pissed off he would get if I beat Itachi before he could get to him himself. That idiot. All he had to do was stay near me until Itachi came after me again and he could have had his shot. Naruto laughed to himself at that thought. He might come after me then. Jiraiya chuckled alongside him. Yeah. Seeing as how Itachi is one of the two slated to come after you, I guess you'll get a better shot at him than Sasuke will. He then noticed that Naruto had said something quite interesting. Hokage, what are you saying, kid? Naruto smirked and rubbed his nose. Well, I was thinking, I spent 4 years of my life dreaming about being a Hokage. It would be a shame to throw it away now that I have a realistic chance of getting there, wouldn't it? Jiraiya's eyes widened as a smile started forming on his face. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Naruto nodded. So, Iro saying, you trained the 4th Hokage. How do you feel about training the 6th? Jiraiya simply burst out in laughter. That kid is confusing as all hell, but at least he's never too boring. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto took the time of his slumber to finally reach out to the Kyuubi. It had been over 1 month since Naruto's seal had been tampered with by Jiraiya, and he had yet to try and communicate with the creature. Earlier in the day when the fox spoke, it had been the first peep that Naruto had heard from it in forever. He had heeded Jiraiya's warning. He had waited the Kyuubi's temperament out. Now it was time to see just what Jiraiya had screwed up with the seal. And the only real way to check it with his novice skill at sealing jutsu was to go inside of his head and check it out firsthand. When he first entered, he was relieved to see that it still looked like Konoha. That was a good sign to him that not much had changed from his original setup. Wandering around, he was curious as to where the Kyuubi would be. Usually he could find it in his house, out in the field beside his house. Near the ravine that Jiraiya threw him into, or right in the middle of an utterly eradicated town. All of these areas came up with nothing. No Kyuubi in sight. Naruto eventually went to the top of his mindscape's Hokage monument in an effort to wait the Kyuubi out. In his thoughts, it had to come out to do something eventually, right? After sitting on top of the monument looking out at the village that wasn't doing anything, no noise, no movement, nothing for seemingly hours, he finally growled to himself and let out a yell. Damn it, Kyuubi, where the hell are you? Closer than you know, kid. Naruto heard the voice from all around him as he stood up to look. Scanning the area around him intently, he found nothing. Kyuubi, where are you? I need to talk to you about the seal. I am well aware of that, kid. Your idiot godfather loosened the seal in an effort to allow you to draw on my power more readily without knowing what he was actually doing. I'm an entity of anger and hatred. This spilled over into you, which was why you and I were so arbitrarily aggressive towards one another and why you were so quick to anger. Naruto stopped looking for the Kyuubi as it was getting him nowhere, and listened to it speak. So you're saying that Iro saying pretty much fucked something up and forced too much of your chakra into my system as opposed to normal. So now what? Kyuubi finally emerged from nothingness in front of Naruto, the size of a normal fox, only with 9 tails. Well, he was kind of successful in his endeavor. You can now access extra tails quicker than you could before, but now it's going to be harder to control. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the diminutive figure of the fox. What do you mean, Kyuubi? Kyuubi sat down on its haunches and gave a look that could be construed as serious if foxes could look serious. Now, instead of having to take 10 to 15 minutes to build up the necessary chakra needed for a two-tailed cloak, you can activate it almost instantaneously. However, without even thinking about it, you can slip further and further into using more of my power subconsciously. Your anger in battle, even from the tiniest things, such as someone surviving one of your lethal attacks, could force your temper to the point of you going past your limit of control. You will lose yourself to bloodlust if your battles drag on for too long. Naruto shrugged. So I'll feel a greater need to kill my enemy in a fight, big deal. If I was using your chakra to fight, then I was probably going to kill them anyway, so I don't think that matters too much to me. Kyuubi growled and snapped Naruto in the ankle, forcing the boy to yelp in surprised pain. Kyuubi, what the fuck? Continuing to growl, the Kyuubi licked the blood from the bite off of its muzzle. As happy as I am that you don't mind killing your opponents, I would be remiss if I didn't explain to your thick-headed self exactly what I mean by bloodlust. You will try to kill everything. Oh, your focus will be on your enemy that you were fighting, that drove you to the point of no control, but that's all you'll be concerned with. You will fight like a berserker. You will have a one-track mind. You will take every attack that your enemy launches at you, and you will walk right through it. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I've got to tell you, none of what you just said really qualifies as a bad thing to me. Holding his hands up quickly in a placating fashion when he saw the Kyuubi narrow its eyes at him, he stepped back a few inches. Kyuubi snorted and began pacing. How to put this so that you will understand? Okay. Say that you kill your opponent while you are in this state. You won't just stop there. You will immediately find the nearest living thing. Run to it, and kill it, friend. Foe or completely indifferent. You won't stop until someone stops you. Do you get the point now? You will be a mindless killer. Naruto gritted his teeth and punched the ground. God damn it! All of that work just to get this far, and now you're saying that your power is too dangerous for me to use? If I use it in a fight against someone that can kick my ass, I'll lose myself and become a killing machine? Fuck! Naruto continued to punch the ground all of these years. I thought I was finally getting somewhere. I'm the worst fucking Jinchuriki in the elemental nations. If the other villages knew how much I sucked, then Konoha would be a laughingstock. Kyuubi's sweat dropped at Naruto's breakdown. Well, technically, they would have to know that you were the Jinchuriki of Konoha before anything could be the laughingstock of anything. Naruto looked away from beating the ground of his mindscape to glare at the Kyuubi. You shut up. You should be happy. You shouldn't have told me that. You could influence me easier and escape that way, right? Kyuubi blinked blankly at Naruto. You would have to draw on all 9 tails of my power and be feeble-minded enough to remove the seal from me yourself. If you lost your shit in the middle of a fight, I wouldn't benefit from it. You need to learn how to fix it, or else you really will be at a disadvantage. You are decent without me, but against someone like the Hachibi host you would be destroyed. Naruto frowned at the fox and wiped his hands off. That's great. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Sigh, alright. I think I've got the bitch out of me. I'll just have to avoid using your chakra until I know enough to fix the seal. Easy, right? Kyuubi took a moment to look away. Yeah? Sure, let's go with that. Naruto grinned at Kyuubi. Great. Later, Kyuubi. Naruto then phased out of the mindscape. Upon seeing its host exit, Kyuubi went to the edge of the cliff and looked out over Konoha. It's not going to be as easy as you think, kid. But I guess I'll let you find that out yourself. I'm not your damn answer key. Kyuubi yawned and donned an evil grin as it transformed to its regular size and fired off an Amari to begin the destruction of fake Konoha. Ah, that's great. There's only one thing that could make this better right now. A flash of yellow appeared in front of the Kyuubi as the sounds of destruction came from below. I have to stop you from destroying Konoha, even at the cost of my life, for I am the 4th Hokage. An orange swirl revealed a man in an orange swirl mask with one eye hole. Ah, my pet. You've jump-started my plans for me. Carry out my will and destroy Konoha. Kyuubi's grin grew even wider. God, I love my Jinchuriki. Kyuubi's tails were swishing wildly. Not the real thing, but I'll be damned if I care. Line 'em up, it's party night. 3 days later, Jiraiya stood behind Naruto on the bridge in front of the waterfall. No clones this time, just Naruto by himself. Are you sure you've got this, kid? It's only been a month and a half. Naruto cracked his neck to the side. Oh yeah. Just multiply that by the hundreds of clones I've been making every day. Naruto rubbed his hands together before placing them in the water. Okay, let's split this bitch. Naruto channeled wind chakra to his hands as he focused on the task at hand. Come on! Sharper, thinner, let's go! Naruto yelled loudly as he lifted his hands up through the force of the water, channeling enough power to slice through the waterfall. As both Naruto and Jiraiya were showered by water from Naruto's display, the boy turned to Jiraiya with a shit-eating grin on his face. Hell yeah, I can cut a waterfall. What do you think about that arrow sign? Jiraiya put his hand on Naruto's head. I think it's time to go home. Naruto face fell off of the bridge in response. Mainland of the elemental nations, somewhere in the land of fire. Naruto gave Jiraiya a deadpan look. So you're telling me that you have no clue how to tighten the seal back up? Jiraiya gave Naruto a sheepish look. Oh no. It was only meant to turn one way in order to give you full control over the chakra one day. You can't put it back, you have to open it and gain full control at one time. Naruto's eye was twitching as he took in the information. So how do I do that? Is loosening it all I have to do? Let's do it then. Jiraiya moved a few steps out of Naruto's range. Well, there are a few things you need to have accomplished before you can. For one, you need to defeat your inner self. Naruto's brow was twitching even faster. How the hell was he supposed to fight and beat himself? He doubted that using shadow clones would help. If it did, then he had already beaten himself a shitload of times already. And what else? Jiraiya chuckled nervously. Well, you kind of need to beat the Kyuubi in combat. He finished hurriedly. Naruto stopped walking and looked at Jiraiya with a deer-in-the-headlights look. You mind repeating that one more time? I think I just heard the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. Did you just say I have to beat the Kyuubi? The Kyuubi? We are talking about the thing that was shoved into my gut because it was eradicating every last person in the village by its lonesome, right? Jiraiya answered tentatively. Yeah, the same. Naruto palmed his face and continued to walk on. Yeah, whatever. I'm guessing it would be too much to ask if the Kyuubi would consider throwing the fight when the time comes. You've got that right, human. Beautiful. Okay, fine. Just makes me feel so much better about being me. Daya-chan better have some good old-fashioned mind-numbing missions for me, or I'm going to pop. Seriously, life just knows how to pile it on, doesn't it? The man that trained me wants me to become Hokage since he thinks he's too old to go for it anymore. I can't use my bijou or I might end up killing everyone within seeing distance of me, which is pretty fucking far, all things considered. I have to fight said bijou and beat it, or else I'll never master using my demonic chakra. Well, baby steps. Right now, let's just worry about getting back to Konoha. Maybe go vent on some spiders in the forest of death. Yeah, that sounds good. Jiraiya watched Naruto's face roll through a gamut of emotions. Overwhelmed, irritated, somewhat frightened, calm, and then strangely lucid. Jiraiya kept an eye on the boy as the look of lucidity stayed. One. Weird. Kid. Konohagakure no Sato, 2 days later. So Brad, how was the mission? Tsunade said through her crossed fingers, trying and failing miserably to hide the smirk on her face. Naruto gave her a dry look. Oh yeah, it was a real tough mission. Baya-chan, the next time you want to swerve me into doing something, just stop and think. Would coming out and telling me what you want me to actually go and do really be so bad? Tsunade moved her hands and made no attempt to hide her smirk. It wouldn't have been as fun as it was imagining the look on your face when you met the pervert, so yes, it would have. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, because I would have been such a bastard about taking the mission. What would I have done? Turned it down? Naruto scoffed. Since when do I turn down anything? Tsunade got the conversation back on track. All right. Now seriously? How was it? Naruto grinned at her. I can split a waterfall with my bare hands. Does that answer your question? Tsunade looked over at Jiraiya, who was smiling in approval. In a month, Tsunadeheim. It took him a bit over 1 month to learn how to do that. Those shadow clones are something else, I swear. He could have stayed the way he was before the invasion, and as long as he knew how to train with those things, he still could have been a force. Both looked at Naruto, who was standing in front of Tsunade's desk with a combination of being at attention and at ease. Tsunade nodded, satisfied that something had been accomplished while they were gone. Anything else I need to know about? Naruto raised a hand. Actually, yes. My seal, after Iro-sang tried to let more of Kyuubi's chakra leak out, he made it so that me using its chakra was more dangerous. I need to learn how to control it almost all over again, or else I might just up and kill my entire team while I'm using it. I could go too far by accident. I'm just now getting a few people to think I'm not a demon. It would certainly suck if a lapse of control on my part threw all of that work away. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade questioningly as he let Naruto's words sink into her. So do you think I need to take him away again until he has it down? Naruto visibly frowned but kept his mouth shut. He really didn't want to traverse to the ass end of nowhere again, only a few hours after getting back to the village. But if it was an order from Tsunade, there wasn't any amount of griping that he could do about it. The most he could do was just take it and hope that it wasn't for too long. Tsunade looked as though she was seriously considering letting him go to deal with it. No. We need Naruto back for now. We're getting more missions now that the time for the Genin exam is coming up in a week, and we need him to help with the influx. He can work on his control in the Forest of Death the way he has been. He just has to let me know what he's doing before he goes to do so. Naruto let a small smile grace his face. Thanks, Baya-chan. Tsunade gave him a smile in return. You're welcome, brat. But still, I'm trusting you. I'm counting on you not going overboard with the Kyuubi's power. Especially after you yourself had to tell me just how dangerous it was for you to use it right now. Jiraiya patted Naruto on the shoulder. Maybe I should teach you how to prepare chakra-suppressing seals so that you can have your team prepared in case you lose it on a mission. Thinking about losing his cool on a mission made Naruto bristle. Keeping his cool during moments like that was one of the things he prided himself on. But he knew that from the Kyuubi's description of exactly what he would become if he did go out of control, it was the best idea. If you say so, Iro-sang. I'm heading out now. If you guys need me, I'm sure you know how to find me. Naruto walked over to the open window and jumped out, not getting any dispute from Tsunade on his chosen method of exit. Tsunade looked away from the window with a sigh. So how is he? Jiraiya scratched the side of his face. He just started breaking through with me when he told me he knew about his father. I really thought the kid was going to start opening up, and then this happens. He'll probably try shutting himself off again if I had to guess. Out of fear of hurting someone he shouldn't. Should I schedule something with Inoichi? Maybe whatever is affecting the seal is mental. Tsunade didn't want Naruto to become reclusive. He was a good kid. It was kind of unnerving how efficient he was, but he was a good kid nonetheless. Jiraiya couldn't give her an answer. I'm not sure. He's not holding back any anger or anything. To make the kid mad, you have to really grate on him. It's just when he does get mad, the chances of him drawing too much of the Kyuubi's chakra is magnified. That's my fault, though. I underestimated the complexity of Minato's seal. There was more to it than I could have figured before I messed with it. I need to head to Mount Miyaboku for a while. Tsunade laced her fingers and set her chin down. Go and do what you need to in order to figure this out. Just keep in contact, send a toad with letters or something. Jiraiya got a grin on his face, but of course. You going to send me some revealing pictures back home? It might get lonely out there by myself. With Naruto's attention was drawn upwards as a white blur flew from the direction of the Hokage Tower. Shaking his head, Naruto continued on his way. I knew it was a good idea to leave that window open. Iro-san is seriously a glutton for punishment, I swear. Finding himself at his destination, Naruto's stomach growled in anticipation as he threw aside the curtain keeping him from the stools of the Ikiraku ramen bar. Taking his seat, he smirked to himself. Hey! I'm back and I've been deprived for far too long. Tucci came from the back, grinning as he realized it was Naruto making all the racket. Well, look who came back from the dead. Where have you been, Naruto? We've been wondering where our primary patron was. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Yeah, I was away for a while. I'm going to start getting more back-to-back missions, too. You know, with the village recovery and all, we need every shinobi we can get out there. Tucci nodded and pulled out a pad. So what will you have, kid? Naruto thought on it for a moment. Give me 3 bowls of miso back to back. 4 beefs and what the hell? 2 vegetable ramen. Variety, right? Tucci laughed to himself. Yeah, variety, right. It'll be right out, Naruto. Naruto tried to hide it, but the subtle tapping of the underside of the counter, along with the kicking motions his legs would sometimes make, let it be known that he was actually anticipating his meal. Before he ended up getting his food, he ended up getting a tap on the shoulder from a familiar face. Turning to face the person who had tried getting his attention, Naruto came face to face with the eye smile of Kakashi Hatake. How are you doing, Naruto? Long time no see. Naruto let a ghost of a smile come onto his features as he faced his Genin cell leader. Hey Kakashi, what brings you here? Kakashi took a seat next to Naruto. Well, I heard you were back in town and I thought, why not go see my old Genin? So how have you been? Naruto shrugged. I can't complain, really. I'm definitely kept busy, that's for sure. I can only imagine what Beo-chan has you doing, Sharingan no Kakashi. She overloading you with the A and S ranked missions or what? Kakashi laughed lightly as Tucci brought Naruto his first bowl. The boy dug in after a small utterance of itadakimasu. Kakashi ordered a small bowl of chicken ramen. Yeah, pretty much. Though she has given me something else to do these days. Naruto paused from his utter decimation of the hapless bowl of ramen to turn a curious eye to the masked Jonin. Really? What's she got you doing now? I bet it's something irksome. Kakashi's eye smile never faded. You shouldn't talk about yourself like that, Naruto. You may be a handful at times, but calling yourself irksome is just self-deprecating. Naruto looked up at Kakashi with the last remnants of his bowl of noodles hanging from his mouth. Huh? He mumbled out through the bits of food. Kakashi pointed at the hot, fresh bowl that Tucci had set in front of Naruto to return his attention to his food for the most part. Tsunade-sama has informed me that in your forthcoming missions, I will be your commanding jonin. Naruto started choking on his food out of surprise. After much effort with him beating himself in the stomach and Kakashi patting his back, he finally got the food down the right pipe. You're going to be leading me in whatever team I get on my missions? Yep, Kakashi chirped happily. Standing up, the man placed his money on the counter. Well, this has been nice talking to you for a bit, Naruto. Hopefully we can do it more when we're working together. It'll be just like old times. Hard to believe it's only been a little over a year. Naruto snickered to himself. Yeah, just like old times, except instead of picking up dog crap, we'll be babysitting merchants and wiping nobles' asses. Something came to Naruto's attention. Hey, Kakashi, aren't you going to eat? As he turned, he saw that Kakashi had left the stand. Looking at Kakashi's empty bowl, a smile came to his face as he returned to his meal. I've got to learn how he does that. Go home, go to sleep, find someone to bother all day tomorrow. Yep, that's a good plan. Naruto thought to himself as he again made his way through the streets of Konoha. As he drew closer to his apartment, he began to realize how good of a view he had from his apartment. He chuckled to himself as he remembered what his goal had been when he had his seals, and the task given to him by Danzo. Ah. I never had a chance, did I? Of course I was going to want to be Hokage. If 4 big gigantic faces were staring you in the face every morning when you left the house, wouldn't you get somewhat curious about it? Meh, no need to worry about that now. I've got more pressing issues to worry about these days. I'm 10 years off before I need to think about Hokage. Breaking himself from his thoughts, he noticed the looks he was getting from the people around him. As usual, the older people were glaring and wishing death on him with their eyes, but he didn't care. They didn't have the power or the balls to try anything against him these days. More importantly, he saw that people closer to his own age weren't malicious in their looks at all. The combined rumors of what he had done during the invasion, with the defeat of Gaara, and the routing of a few squads of Oto ninja, coupled with his feats since then, had trickled down to those of his own age group, as evident by the comments he could hear from a few of them. That's the kid that made the crater a few miles from the border. I'd sure hate to have to fight that guy. I heard he lives in the Forest of Death. No joke. He keeps the spiders that live there like his pets or something. Those whisker marks make him look kind of cute. The second to last comment made him sweat drop. Pets my ass. Who comes up with this crap? The last comment made him face fault, picking himself up off of the ground with a sheepish smile as he heard giggles from the girls that had said it. Walking it off, he heard a familiar yell. Naruto-Nisan! Naruto turned and rolled his eyes. What? Did someone send out a press release saying that I came back today? Despite that thought, Naruto had a smile on his face as Konohamaru, Mugi, and Udon came running over to him. Hey guys. What's up? Don't you have school today? Konohamaru grinned up at the scarred blonde. Boss, it's the weekend. We don't have class today. Naruto looked at the trio and let out a laugh. Yeah, well, I guess time flies when you don't care what day it is. Remember, guys, at some point you'll stop caring what day of the week it is. And when that happens, then you can say that you've reached my level of apathy toward the things around you. The kid's sweat dropped, not knowing whether or not he was serious, and followed along as he turned to head home. Konohamaru ran up to his side. So, boss, where have you been? I haven't seen you in forever. Naruto kept his gaze forward. I was learning how to cut a waterfall with my chakra. Konohamaru tripped over nothing upon hearing what Naruto had been doing while he was gone. Looking back at Udon and Mugi, they both shrugged as all three ran to catch up with Naruto, who had not stopped for them. Konohamaru elbowed Naruto lightly in the thigh and chuckled. That was a good one, boss. What were you really doing while you were gone? Naruto looked at the kids with a smile. Believe what you want to. Now is there something you guys want? All three darted in front of him and spoke at once. Play ninja with us. Naruto's sweat dropped. Fine, but it's you all against me. Understood? Yes, boss. Was the simultaneous cry from the youngsters, Naruto Shunshin just out of their sight. Start counting! As they obeyed his command, Naruto made a shadow clone. Play ninja with them. Don't lose, but don't be too hard on them. Give them some hope that they could have won. The clone nodded with a smirk and went off in the direction they had just came from while the original. Naruto shook his head in amusement as he heard the sounds of the kids beginning their chase. Let's see. It's still daylight out. It's too early to sleep without being called a lazy ass. Naruto made his way towards the main gate to go and mess with Kotetsu and Izumo, who would probably appreciate the distraction from the monotony of their usual job. Landing on top of the booth that both were seated in, he started stomping on the roof to get their attention. What the hell? Kotetsu walked outside and looked on top of the booth to find Naruto smiling and waving at him. Oh, hey kid, how are you doing? Naruto hopped down to let Izumo see him. I'm doing just fine. How's gate duty? Kotetsu shook his head with a smirk, as boring and monotonous as ever. Want to take my spot? Naruto waved him off. I'll pass on that. I just got back into town anyway. I couldn't stop to talk because Tsunade Bachan wanted a report first thing after me and Iro-san got back. Izumo looked around nervously. Naruto, are you crazy? Tsunade-sama will kill you if she catches wind of you talking about her like that. Naruto grinned smugly at Izumo. She tried to already, and she couldn't get it done, so now she just lives with it. I call him like I see him. Tsunade Bachan is 50 years old, therefore she's a grandma. Jiraiya is a pervert, and does nothing to hide it, hence the name. Iro-san. You guys are lucky I haven't named you anything yet. Naruto walked inside the booth and took a seat. Izumo gave Naruto an amused look before turning towards the path outside the gate. All right, time to go to work. The Kurenai-led Team 8 made their way towards the gate. Kurenai Yuhi, reporting back from a C-ranked escort mission. As she looked behind the booth and saw the uncommon sight of blonde, spiky hair, she raised an eyebrow. Naruto? Naruto waved to her and the rest of her team. Hi, guys. Kiba grinned and bumped knuckles with him. Hey, what are you doing in there? I thought you were out of the village. Naruto shrugged as he passed the sign and ledger to Kiba for him and his team to sign. I was, as you can see, I'm back. And I'm in here because I'm bored, and it's too early for me to go to sleep. What did you guys just get through doing? Kiba passed the clipboard off to his other teammates. Just some escort for some guy. We didn't even get to fight anyone. It was completely boring. Shano finished signing himself in and passed it on. Kiba, you can't get a fight on every mission. Combat isn't ideal. Times when you don't have to fight should be valued. Naruto nodded. That's deep, Shino. So how have you guys all been? I've only seen Kiba recently. He looked up at Kurenai, who was looking at him sternly. Oh, come on. You can't still be pissed off at me for beating your team. It was a fight, I fought. Kurenai's lips quirked slightly. They were your comrades. You sent Kiba to the hospital. Naruto pointed at the boy in question. Look at him. He's just fine. I sent him to the hospital once before that. Only the first time I did it, I got my ass kicked worse than he did. Kiba, are you mad about how I won? Kiba shook his head. No, I'm mad that you won, not how you did it. I'm getting my wins back one of these days, Uzumaki. Naruto grinned at him. Feel free to try whenever you like. If you can find me in the forest of death, then you can fight me. He looked at Shino. Are you mad that I beat you? Shino pushed his glasses further up on his face. No, it would be illogical for me to be upset with your victory when it occurred months ago. However, much like Kiba, I will be getting even with you one of these days. Naruto smirked. Same thing applies to you that I told Kiba. He turned to the one that had yet to speak. Hinata, how are you doing? Come on, how are things? Kiba grabbed the girl and pulled her forward. Hinata-chan's really strong. She came up with a new jutsu that kicks ass. It's awesome. Naruto smiled. I need to see that jutsu. Whenever you guys want to find me. And I'm not at home, just leave a message or something. Unless you actually feel like skulking through the forest of death to find me. The entire team paled when hearing that as Hinata of all people spoke up. Ah, Naruto-kun, do you actually live in the forest of death like the rumors say? Naruto's sweat dropped. Whoever started that stupid rumor is going to get their ass kicked. No, I don't. I just go in there all the time to train. It's a better workout than any other training field, that's for sure. Kurenai decided it was time to break up the rabble while there was still daylight. All right, come on, guys. We have to report on our mission. You can find Naruto and talk to him later. It would be nice if you could spar with the team one of these days, Naruto. Naruto grinned at her. So you're not gonna try and genjutsu me into a coma? Kurenai let a small smirk come on her face. I thought about it. And nope, I'm not. Naruto nodded. Good, because it wouldn't have worked anyway. I keep my mental mind extra secure. Nothing gets in. The team started to walk towards the Hokage Tower, but Kiba got one more shot in before they got too far. Oh. So that's why you were dead last in the academy? Naruto jumped out of the booth and flipped him off, dead last, that Kiba. I'll be happy to show you how dead last I am again if twice wasn't enough to get the point across. After a moment of silence, Naruto nodded, satisfied that his threat came across loud and clear, before he turned to leave. However, he was stopped in his tracks before he could even take a step. Fuck you, Naruto! Naruto whipped around to only see them as dots in the distance. He left grumbling to himself as Kotetsu and Izumo were seated in the booth snickering. Welcome home, shithead, Tayuya chirped from her place on Naruto's couch. Naruto had a dry look on his face as he walked inside his apartment. You know, when I asked you to watch my place, I didn't really think you would be over here when I got back. Tayuya shrugged. You have a TV. Therefore, I consider your place better than mine. Hence the reason that I'm here. Where did you go anyway? Naruto looked through his refrigerator before giving up on finding something and heading over to the chairs, the land of Moon. Fun fact, I can now split a waterfall into two with my chakra alone. Killer. Naruto grunted and plopped down next to her on the couch, garnering a confused look from her. There are two other places to sit, you know? Naruto gave her a tired look. This is the best chair. This is also my house. You're lucky I didn't just flop face first on the couch like I usually do. You're sitting where my face would traditionally go, by the way. Tayuya blushed at Naruto's implication and was about to call him on it until his next move. Naruto fell to the side and landed with his head in Tayuya's lap, which ended up with the girl's cheeks becoming dangerously overcolored. Shithead, what are you doing? she squeaked out. Naruto smirked up at her. Huh. Well, I told you that you're sitting where I place my head on this couch. Or would you like me to go full-on traditional with how I lay on this chair and turn face down? Tayuya stammered before narrowing her eyes, still blushing. You don't have the balls. Naruto's smirk became a mischievous grin. Oh, really? You've obviously forgotten who you're talking to. Allow me to refresh your memory. Team 10 alongside Sakura were sitting in a park. Chuji and Shikamaru were laying on a hill watching clouds, while Ino and Esakura were sitting next to a lake. So forehead, how's training with Tsunade-sama? Esakura looked over at her rival and smiled. It's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I'm glad it's happening. I really owe Naruto one for setting the whole thing up. Esakura noticed Ino's discomfort at hearing Naruto's name. You're not still sore at him for winning during that test he had to take, are you? Ino shook her head. It's not that. I just don't think everything is right with Naruto. I know I told you already. The things I saw in his head weren't normal. It's scary how different he became in almost no time at all. Esakura rubbed the back of her neck. Well, honestly, it was kind of unnerving at first, but he's still Naruto, just a faster, stronger, more powerful Naruto. Shithead. I regret nothing. Get back here so I can rip you apart. You know you liked it, Tayuya-chan. Why else did you let me stay like that for 15 seconds? I was counting. Tai, you bastard! Esakura and Ino blinked as the clear-cut voice of the person the conversation was about rang out across a distance, followed closely by another irate female voice. Sakura palmed her face. You see? Same old knucklehead. Somewhere in Konoha, where a large white-haired man picked himself out of a body-sized hole, a tear fell from his eye. Way to go, kid. I knew I'd get you on my side eventually. And that's it for the video. Until next time. Later.